Mic check. Tuesday. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Good to be seen. Sorry for the extra intro today, but who doesn't want to hear Biter shit just one more time? Again, shout out to Biter for making that wonderful intro. Yeah, what is that? Gambia? Don't tell me I'm muted. Fuck me up there. Literally, I said mic check. Somebody wrote you're muted in the chat, and I checked the mic as if you would have known that. If I was muted, you wouldn't have known I was even talking. You couldn't even see me. It's good to be here on a Tuesday. Sorry for being late. I feel very, very bad. Oh yeah, Iceland hat reveal. Thank you, Asta Sophia. I do have them here. And guess what? I definitely remembered, and I definitely didn't have to be reminded by Jen an hour ago to get them next to my desk. So we do have the Iceland hat reveal sent here from our friend Asta Sophia. I don't know what that guy's doing. Dancing, maybe? I'm not sure what that guy's doing on there. And then also here, Iceland, made of real ice. There we are. I definitely remember it, guys. Definitely remember it. I did not forget. The hell? Oh, I just didn't move that. I saw some interesting things. Like I had the show ready, and then I saw some interesting stuff. Here's one of them. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with the? I don't know if it's Hodge twins. They're a right-wing. Like they're these two twin brothers right here. They love Trump. They're MAGA everything. They're twins. They got kind of popular during QAnon. I don't know what their numbers are now. I don't think they're massive anymore. They had Dan Blazerian on their podcast. And I literally came across this clip 10 minutes before we went live. I've kind of stopped paying attention to them. They lost relevance, and they kind of just say what everybody else does. I haven't even seen anybody engaging with them, so I almost forgot they existed. And then I stumbled across this clip, and I was shocked.
And then when you look at this drone footage over Gaza,
it's like apocalyptic, you know.
Look at that.
So now what are these people supposed to do? They're supposed to go back to that?
That's crazy, because they said they bombed these houses, these apartments, these hospitals, because they're using people as human shields. Hamas is there. But how is Hamas in every house?
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. I don't give a fuck if Hamas is in a hospital. That doesn't give you the right to blow it up.
Right.
Just like if there's a fucking school shooter in a school and your kids are there, do you want them to blow up the fucking school?
Great point, yeah. During the riots during George Floyd, we didn't drop bombs on those people rioting and stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's not what you do. You don't kill fucking civilians. They could be conducting operations, kicking in doors, you know, killing Hamas leaders. They don't need to carpet bomb refugee camps. They don't need to fucking blow up hospitals. They don't need to blow up mosques.
Right.
I don't care if there is a bad guy in there. If there's a bunch of women and children, you don't fucking blow it up.
And then when you look...
Wasn't that surprising? Wasn't that a surprising way to start the show? I'm like, all right. We're doing... I mean... We had Netanyahu yesterday at the White House for God knows why. I have no idea why Netanyahu's there. I don't know what they wind up. I'm a little confused. I didn't get the info on this, so maybe they just pushed it back. I definitely saw a press conference that included Netanyahu. Then I saw reporting of the press conference being canceled. So I don't know if it was like a later press conference or if that one wound up actually just going through. But there was an announcement that it was being canceled. You had hundreds of Jewish Americans outside protesting Netanyahu. You had people talking about it in Congress. This is not somebody that's well liked outside of like political circles. It's crazy. Like, it's amazing how much influence AIPAC has. That something as unpopular is Zionism and Netanyahu. Something as unpopular as that has so much influence in Congress. It's one of those times that like. It's so clear that special interests are taking priority. And I don't know how much more stomach Americans have for that. I had a piece of apple stuck in my tooth. That was bugging the shit out of me. Anyways, just thought I would show you guys that. I wanted to play this clip too, because we're going to talk about the tariffs here a little bit later, and admittedly, I feel like I've been kind of scrambling on the tariff stuff, like trying to play catch up, trying to figure out why people are doing certain things. Like when you have these tariffs introduced, and they don't really make any sense. It's hard to like narrow down where you think people are going. I've shown this guy before. His TikTok news username is, I think, Nathan Jump, Jump. This was really interesting, talking about American manufacturing and why you might see some of the wealthier MAGAs, people like Howard Lutnick, cheerleading and being very excited about these drops in the market and this trade war. This is better than anything I could have explained, so I'm just going to let him talk.
Let's pretend that I'm a Republican. Let's pretend I'm a 1% Republican who makes a lot of their money by making exchanges and trades on the stock market. Let's also pretend that I'm well educated, I'm economically intelligent, and that I'm actually part of the 48% of Republicans who do not identify as MAGA. Why would I be optimistic right now about everything that's happening? Well, I have a theory on this. At this point, we can come to an educated conclusion that a majority of the loudest MAGA members don't actually care about what's happening because they don't have retirement savings and they don't invest in the stock market and they don't really fundamentally understand macroeconomics. The only thing they do understand is a Truth Social post where Trump says we are being unfairly treated. They understand no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security, and maybe they understand the elimination of federal income taxes, even though they don't understand the consequences of that. The best example I can give of this is think about the last time you got an email from a brand that you love and it was advertising a sale. They will put the font and size of that font of the sale really, really large, and then there is a teeny tiny little thing that says exclusions apply. MAGA Republicans don't really look at the exclusions. They just look at the giant big block letters. So why would an economically intelligent 1%er Republican be excited about this? And it is not, in my mind, shorting the stock market or buying the dip. It's actually...
Now, some of it, I remember he's talking about a 1%er. I'm going to cover some stories here in a few minutes. There are people who are shorting the market and buying the dip. So it's not that those people don't exist. He's just explaining a certain person and why they might be excited. And that person is a 1%er who deals with, let's say, foreign investments.
Actually international investment. The fact is that American companies who currently rely on international manufacturing have the hardest pathway to be able to build domestic manufacturing in the United States. We've now seen dozens of videos of people talking about this because there's no American manufacturing that makes machinery, that makes materials, that makes textiles, that makes light bulbs. All of these things are required to be able to build a factory, and there's no domestic manufacturer that makes those things. But you know who does manufacture those resources? Other countries. If a US company wanted to make a manufacturing facility without relying on international imports, they'd effectively have a giant warehouse that's just empty. But it's very possible and is actually very feasible for an international company to do this right now. Let me explain. Let's talk about washing machines, which I've talked about in the past. The only American-made washing machine right now is a company called Speed Queen in Wisconsin. Speed Queen represents the biggest issue and challenge with domestic manufacturing right now because even though they make a very, very quality product, they get outstanding reviews on their websites, they still charge as their cheapest washer-dryer stacked washing machine as $2,700. Now compare that to an LG stacked washer dryer that you could buy in Best Buy, and that is $1,700. It's $1,000 cheaper. And you might be thinking, well, LG is a Korean company, so they're definitely going to be impacted by these tariffs. Not so fast. LG actually produces a majority of their washing machines that they sell in the US already. I'm going to circle back to LG a little bit later, and I'm going to talk now about the actual tariffs. South Korea was hit with a 25% reciprocal tariff. But we can kind of see now that a lot of these tariffs are just the first offer. They're just done as a gut punch to other countries to get their attention. And we can see countries starting to pull back their US tariffs, and then Trump will give them maybe a lighter version of the original tariff. Let's say that South Korea negotiates with the United States and with Trump, and they reduce the amount of their import tariffs on US products, and as a result of that, Trump reduces their tariffs to, let's say, 15% instead of 25%. It could happen. It's probably actually the point of all of this. So let's get back to LG and washing machines. LG already manufactures washing machines in Clarksville, Tennessee, so they already are a step ahead of everybody else who is dealing with these tariffs right now. This factory has already been in operations, so the only thing LG is going to have to worry about is the 15% tariff on the parts and materials needed to actually make the washing machine. Now, it's estimated that parts comprise about 50% of the cost of manufacturing for a washing machine. Using simple math, we can assume that a $1,700 washing machine probably costs about $425 for LG to produce. They then sell that washing machine to Best Buy for...
Those are fact checking. Just understand, some of you saying, like, I guess the base Speed Queen's $1,300. Understand what these prices aren't really that important if they're accurate right now. He's getting to a bigger point. The price isn't actually what's accurate. Remember, the point of this video is to explain why somebody like Howard Lutnick or people who are investing in the United States economy are cool with these tariffs, even though right now it's catering the stock market.
For something around $850 to $900, and then Best Buy marks it up to $1,700. That's how wholesale works. If the 15% tariffs that get enacted on the parts that LG has to import in order to make the washing machines goes into effect, the cost of manufacturing is now about $460, but I can easily see LG just raising the price to $500 instead of from $425 to $460. And then they would charge Best Buy $1,000 for that washing machine instead of $900 previously. Now, Best Buy also will do exactly what every retailer did in 2021, which was raise the cost of goods and blame it on the pandemic. So let's say they now charge $1,900 for that washing machine that they originally charged $1,700 for. A $200 increase is definitely substantial, but it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things, and it's still way cheaper than the $2,700 washing machine from Speed Queen. So you might be asking yourself, what's the problem then? Here's the problem. In 2023, the Clarksville, Tennessee LG manufacturing facility was recognized by the World Economic Forum. And they were given a very, very prestigious designation, which was they were known as a lighthouse factory. You might be asking yourself, what is a lighthouse factory?
I was asking
myself. A lighthouse factory is a designation given by the World Economic Forum to recognize...
Hey, Rick. It's coming. We got it.
Manufacturing that uses automation, AI, and robots. LG in Clarksville, Tennessee manufactures approximately 1.8 million washers and dryers per year using AI, automation, robots. Speed Queen uses people. One of the biggest narratives that exists in the MAGA side of TikTok is that Asian countries use child labor. No, sweetie, we don't. We use robots and AI. Asian technology is so vastly far ahead of American technology that...
Yeah, remember yesterday when they had Lutnick on Fox? Or no, I think it was ABC. And Lutnick was like, hey, we're going to take there's all this child labor over in China. And we're going to take all that child labor. People is screwing in little tiny screws with little tiny screwdrivers. And we're going to bring them here. And we're going to use AI and automation. I went and looked at that. I did. I'm just... The more you look into these labor laws in China, what you realize is that like most of the arguments about what China does are arguments from 30 years ago. Like there's still certainly problems. There's still what I would call slave labor, but they're incredibly exaggerated. China's just so far ahead of us that they've been doing like robotics and AI before we were. And so they're ahead of us. So what Lutnick's kind of saying is like, hey, we're going to do something new that China doesn't do. It's not true. They're going to copy China.
Certain companies are actually banned from the United States because they would bankrupt American companies. BYD is an EV company in China that would bankrupt Tesla because BYD technology in their cars is so vastly far ahead of Tesla. Donald Trump is effectively creating a welcome mat to welcome Asian companies who rely on automations and robots to manufacture to the United States right now. And they're going to do it with less labor, and they're going to get a ton of H-1B visas, just like Tesla does, to be able to fill specialty roles. And the reason why they are building them in states like Tennessee, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina is because those states offer $7.25 minimum wage. It's almost comical to see so many MAGA Republicans on the other side of
Good point. Some of you said, no unions too.
TikTok celebrating all the jobs that this is going to create and all of the international companies that are coming in, when they don't understand that these companies are actually just going to bankrupt the actual American companies here. And this circles me back to the original point of this video. The reason why a 1% economically intelligent Republican might be excited about this is because they're going to invest in companies like LG.
Yeah, there's no... Just try and make sense of it. How are you going to take manufacturing from China, from Taiwan, from Singapore, from India? How are you going to take those manufacturing jobs if they do pay less? Bring them here, pay more, and then have the products stay the same price or be a better price or at least be a manageable price. There's no way to do that. So what these guys are, you look at the Republican states getting ahead of this too. You look at Florida, you look at Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. What do? They're rolling back child labor laws. West Virginia, just roll back those child labor laws. Let's make sure that some of these jobs that they don't consider skilled labor can just be filled by children. And we got to fill them with children because how dare we have immigrants here? How dare we have people from south of the border here? That would be terrible. I think that's a good explanation. I don't know. We'll see. The one thing I'm realizing the further along we get into this is that a lot of people are in Trump's ear saying the same thing, but for totally different reasons. Some of them are in his ear about tariffs because they just have a theory, like Peter Navarro. They're like, I just want to be right. Some of them are in their ear because they are over leveraged and they need new investment opportunities. Some of them are just in Trump's ear because they want nationalism. They specifically Christian white nationalism. But a lot of times, what they want aligns, and so it's hard to nail down what exactly they're going for. And that's what's interesting about like today. You have Elon Musk and Peter Navarro fighting. We'll get to that in a minute. But you have these people fighting within Trump world. And anytime something bad, it is something incredible that Trump does, is if something is wrong inside the administration, they like pick a person. And we do it too. Like we're like, oh, Musk is a problem. Navarro's a problem. It's because he gives them like a little bit of autonomy. He lets them be out there. He lets them be on the microphone. And then he doesn't have to own any of the problems. Other administrations that like have a more top-down, like more business-like approach, it'll be like, oh, the buck stops with me. And it'll be, for example, it was Joe Biden. Everything that happened during the Biden administration was Joe Biden's fault. I do appreciate this, though. I would much rather, I wish they would cover our people like we cover them. I'm saying we should still cover them this way because it makes the most sense. But now we have people on the same side of the tariff argument, on opposite sides of the tariff argument, all within the same administration, arguing with each other on Twitter. And it's fun, at the very least it's fun. We all know Biden was probably half asleep. I don't know why people are still making this joke. Like, yeah, Biden was sleeping. Donald Trump has fallen asleep publicly like 10 times. Is there an instance of Biden falling asleep publicly? There was like that fake phone call where they pretended Biden was asleep. Donald Trump has legitimately fallen asleep in public like 10 times. He's just as sleepy. He wakes up at like 11. You don't see him before noon. He stays up late watching TV, then wakes up, lays around in his bed, and watches the morning news. It's not like Trump is Mr. Energy. He's falling asleep all the fucking time. All right. The hogs, as Hassan would call them, are starting to get pissed at Kash Patel. This is no quarter given. I think this is, what's this guy's name? It's like, this is the Patriot voice. I mean, these are right wingers. They are not happy with Kash Patel.
This message is for Kash Patel. You better fucking tranquilize me or get one of those Men in Black fucking blinker things to make my memory go away, because the fact that you talk nothing but shit about how you're going to take down the elite motherfuckers in Congress and Washington and Hollywood, and now you focus on people making fun of Jews as a priority, completely throwing the Epstein shit to the side, and I'm supposed to act like what? I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm gonna call your ass out every fucking day.
They're not happy with Kash Patel. Where is Kash Patel? What's he been doing? He's out there monitoring your Facebook to make sure that you don't say anything bad about Israel. That's what Kash Patel is doing. I guess when you hire a podcaster to run the FBI, you really shouldn't expect big results. This was just interesting. This was Brett Meiselas. Yesterday, he tweeted out, Fox producers frantically making calls right now to fill tomorrow's programming with stories about trans athletes. And then just like, how many hours later? A day later, yep, called that shit. It was Fox News bringing on Clay Travis to talk. What's this guy's stupid name? They used to work together. He used to work for Clay Travis. What is that guy's name? What is his name? I forget his name now. Anyways, they're on there. They're like, stock market crashing. This is interesting too. They just have the number of the doubt. This is interesting by Fox News. Just the number, not an up and down, not a green or red. We're just going in gray. God, they went into full fucking panic mode, didn't they? They're not even gonna give you a color here. No arrows. Just Clay Travis and God damn, why am I forgetting this guy's name? Will Kane. Thank you, Jackie. Somebody might have got it before you. I don't remember. But yeah, I just thought that was funny about Brett Meiselas. It's incredibly predictable what they're gonna do. Here was Trump yesterday. Guys, we're going to war. We're going to war. I don't know why anybody's pretending we're not. I titled this YouTube video today, or this live, I titled it, Trump is just Bush. He's doing Bush. He's doing a George W. Bush impression. We tank the economy, and then we go to war. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Here's Trump making an announcement yesterday.
We have great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military.
I don't know how much this is adding. What was the previous year's budget? 2024 military budget. Let's see. 2024 was $841 billion. So this is adding over $60 billion for the DoD budget. Which means that puts us over $2 trillion in the hole now. But we were projected $1.9 trillion in deficit spending. That's going to be, at the very least, $2 trillion, probably a little bit over $2 trillion. And why are we building up the military? This is the guy, like, no new wars. We're dropping bombs all over the Middle East right now. We're taking out people. Like, I don't know if you saw the video. I didn't cover it because I don't want to show it. You saw the video that Trump may have posted saying that there was a group of Houthis getting ready to go and like shoot down a ship, and then he just took them out and then he posted it bragging about it. No evidence that these were Houthis. They have not released any evidence that these were Houthis. Specifically, no evidence that they were going to attack a ship. They just wiped people out and then put it up on Twitter with no explanation. This is every bit as bad and evil as George Bush, except for George Bush had the fucking sense to not post and brag about it. George Bush had the sense to be like, I don't like doing this. Trump's like, I fucking love this shit. And Republicans on board with him are like, yeah, we love this shit too. You literally put a guy in charge. The SecDef is a guy who said he wants to kill all Muslims. He's sitting in a room across the aisle from Benjamin Netanyahu, who has a similar goal. And now here we are. We're going. I have almost no doubt we're about to be in another war. And now we're going to say we need to take over. The way Trump was talking about Gaza yesterday, before he was like, we're going to go to Gaza, we're going to take it over, we're going to make it big and beautiful. Yesterday, in his press conference, he's talking about going to Gaza and creating like a military force there. Now it'll be ours. But because it's the United States and because we'll have a military presence there, that will keep peace in the Middle East. We're just doing the same fucking shit that Bush did. This is the same playbook over and over and over again. Heading to the Middle East, we're going to kill people because of Israel. Because Israel just wants to drag us into a war all the fucking time. I'm so tired of Israel, man. I don't know. We're getting close. Are we getting close though? We might be getting close. They lost Dan Bilzerian and the Hodge twins. Just a reminder, before we get too far into the show, we are crowdfunded here. So below the screen, if you're watching in horizontal, there's the pay links. Above the screen here, if you're watching vertical, we have Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, as well as Super Chats. And we have a daily gift goal that's up there in the corner. If you can help out in any way, that would be great. We also offer monthly subscriptions, and I appreciate it. I didn't even notice the Twitch ones aren't coming through on my mini feed here, but a bunch of people subscribed yesterday, and I really appreciate it. That goes a really, really long way to keep this show afloat. Let me read a couple comments real fast. Jumar says, that's right. Let's just take money from poor people and build up our military. That makes perfect sense. Let's crash the stock market while we're at it too. Benny says, let me make a prediction. No one will call in by messaging Chen on Discord because they are cowards. And Johnny says, Harry Balls, you only laugh at dirty jokes. That's a reminder to our Republican friends here. Any of you are welcome to come up here and debate any of these points or just offer a counterpoint. I'm happy to hear from you. All you have to do is message Jen on Discord. It's JENNDUBB1. It's the same as the Venmo username there, and she'll get you into the Discord so you can come up and be on the show. We'd love to have you. All right. Here is John Mearsheimer talking about Iran. I just thought this was an interesting perspective. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with this or disagree with this. What I will say is this. We used to have oversight in Iran. We used to be able to go to Iran. We were able to inspect their weapons and try and keep them from nuclear proliferation. If I was Iran, I would probably be upset about that. I would be saying things like, I don't understand why Israel has nukes, but we can't have nukes. However, it has stopped Iran and many other countries from maybe some more serious attacks against Israel. This is, I think his name's John Mearsheimer. I think that's his name. I'm bad with names. Here's him making the argument here that us allowing Israel to build up its nuclear arsenal and try and tamp down everybody else is actually counter to a strategy that would bring peace to the Middle East.
I think there's no question that a nuclear-armed Iran would bring stability to the region because nuclear weapons are weapons of peace. They're weapons of deterrence. They have hardly any offensive capability at all. And if Iran had a nuclear deterrent, there's no way that the United States or Israel, for that matter, would be threatening to attack Iran now. In the same way that if Saddam had nuclear weapons in 2003, the United States would not have invaded Iraq. And if Libya had nuclear weapons in 2011, the United States would not have gone to war against Libya.
I think it's kind of a fair point, honestly. Isn't that the whole argument that we use as Americans of like why we need to have the world's strongest military? Why we have to spend more than the other like 200 militaries in the world combined? Isn't that our very argument? Is that if we are so strong and we have such an arsenal that we can wipe anybody out, that nobody will ever attack us? I'm pretty sure that's our argument.
So I think that if you had a Middle East where other states besides Israel, and this of course includes Iran, had a nuclear deterrent, it would be a more peaceful region. Well, it's possible there'll be...
Jeffrey, go back and watch yesterday's show. Yesterday we said the stock market absolutely will recover, and that you guys will act like we were all said that it wouldn't. Go back. We predicted you yesterday. We all said yesterday when the stock market goes up, you guys are going to show back up, and you'll be like, you said it would never go up. We already predicted this, bud. Go to a dumber stream.
Some proliferation. I wouldn't bet against the fact that maybe Turkey or Saudi Arabia would acquire nuclear weapons, but people have been predicting widespread proliferation for decades now, and it's never happened. But I think there are two reasons that it wouldn't happen. One is that the Iranians would not be able to blackmail anybody in the neighborhood with their nuclear weapons. We've created this myth in this country over the past few years in talking about Iran that any country that acquires nuclear weapons can blackmail other countries or use those nuclear weapons for offensive purposes. We have a lot of theory and a huge amount of empirical evidence, 67 years now, which show that no country with nuclear weapons can blackmail another country as long as somebody is protecting that country or it has its own nuclear weapons. And this leads to the second reason. The United States is going to extend its nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia and over Turkey, the way it extended it over Germany and Japan during the Cold War. And we will make it perfectly clear to the Iranians that they cannot blackmail anybody. So there'll be no great incentive for Turkey or for Saudi Arabia to acquire nuclear weapons.
I just thought it was an interesting point. That's where it cuts off right there. Just something to think about. I'm not 100% sure like where I'm at on that. But what I do know is that this administration's policy is that the same tried and failed policies that we had from Bush 1, frankly from Reagan and Bush 2. I don't think Donald Trump really cares a lot about foreign policy, if we're being honest. He just brought in a bunch of Bush-era Republicans and said, go ahead and run the military. I don't think he has a lot to do with this. I think this has a lot more to do with the fact that Pete Hegseth is friends with all these military contractors. Pete Hegseth is as deep state as you could get as far as his connections. He's friends with all the Black Rocks. He's friends with Eric Prince. He's friends with Boeing, with what's the other group called? Whatever. He's friends with all of them. Forever. Every time we have an invasion, he's like, yeah, let's invade. Yeah, let's invade. He's the most pro-invasion SecDef ever. And I honestly don't think Trump is really that worried about it. I think Trump has handed these things over to Pete Hegseth. He likes that Pete Hegseth appears strong. He likes that Pete Hegseth talks tough. And like it or not, what our military or our foreign policy is now is do what the fuck we say. That's what we're running with. And that's why it's hard to predict. It's hard to figure out what's going to happen because we're relying on this strategy of working that nobody will call our bluff. And then if they do call our bluff, like, what are we going to do? Are we really going to go to war with all these countries if they call our bluff? My concern is that Pete Hegseth will. My concern is that and that there's enough people around here that will go, fuck it. They should have listened to what we can't appear weak. We can't turn our back. Like that's toxic masculinity. That's the shit we've been trying to get rid of. That's the very thing like Republicans have been like begging to bring back. We need more of that. We need more of that. Why? So we can go to more wars? You know why your grandpa was so hardened and so masculine? Because he had to repress all that shit down from going to Vietnam. That's why. All my Republican friends from that era, they're only afraid of one thing. It's like allowing those feelings to come back up. It's devastating to them. That was the way, frankly, a lot of them had to cope. I asked one of my friends. He was a battalion commander, and he served in Vietnam, but he was also very short. So his job was to go into the tunnels and fight hand to hand. So this is the sweetest man I've ever been around. Give you the shirt off his back. Never seen him get mad. Never seen him snap. And he was telling me these stories one day of him going in through these tunnels. And I was just like, dude, how does that not affect you? Like, how is it that every day, like, you don't think about that? And he's like, you come home and you just repress it. You just shove it down. He's like, I did never address it. He said, it's hard. He doesn't know those people. And that's where he left it. But that's a lot to repress. That's why like people thought everybody was so tough, because you weren't allowed to show feelings. And that's what you guys want to go back to, which is convenient for somebody who wants to go to war all the time, because now they got a bunch of people who are primed saying like, you got to be tough, you got to be strong, you got to be willing to stand for something, to fight for something. And you're like, all right, cool. Now I'm willing to fight for something. And they're like, we got you into a war. What are we fighting for? We're fighting mostly for oil and power and money. And it's a bunch of rich people are going to make a bunch of money off this. That's what we're fighting for. But we're going to tell you it's about your country. We're going to tell you it's about your patriotism. That's why Pete Hegseth's putting out all these propaganda videos now. It's talking about how cool it's going to be in the military. I appreciate everybody's military service. If I had served in the military, which I have not, I would be pissed as hell. I would be so mad at how much I was lied to. I'd be furious. There's not a single politician that was promoting war that I would agree with. I'd be devastated. I'd be devastated that like they used my patriotism against me. I'd be devastated that like all that time when I thought I was fighting for my country, I was really just fighting for money. That would drive me nuts. Steven said, keep me entertained and informed at work every day, even on my birthday. Happy birthday, Steven. Johnny said, at least you chuckled. Sphincter. I think you meant sphincter. That's how they spell that. FOD said the economic impact of a war will be devastating. Oil prices will skyrocket, which is exactly what, by the way, Russia needs. Russia is going to need oil prices to skyrocket. They really, really need to make more money off their oil. Charles says, I can't be drafted. I've got bones. I've got bone spurs. That's pretty solid. I'll update that on the next video here. All right. I thought this is cool. I've seen this a few times. I don't know if there's a hashtag for it because I couldn't find it. But I've seen people doing like this planting seeds thing. I thought this is cool. This is from Heidi Jo Housel Huey. I planted seeds today at the hospital. It is a rural hospital that is dependent on Medicare and Medicaid. It was a long wait. I had a quietly loud conversation in the full waiting area with my husband. Husband was getting cranky about the wait time. I said, enjoy it now because once they start taking away Medicare and Medicaid, these hospitals are going to shut down. Then we will have to go to city hospitals. Those hospitals are already overwhelmed. Can you imagine the wait times when all of us rural people have to go there also? I watched the faces of the people in the waiting area as I talked. They all got this oh shit look on their faces. Seed planted. I liked that. I think that there's ways to, like, if you're not confrontational, but you want to get your message out, I think that's like a subtle way to do it. Just when you're in public, just talk loudly about things like that. You don't have to engage with people, but if you're non-confrontational, that might be the way to go. If you feel like you need to do your part, just be passive aggressive to everybody. Let me update this real quick. Jen, welcome. Did you have an announcement? No, never mind. Sorry, that was from yesterday. My bad, Jen. My bad. All right, I'm gonna play this Charlie Kirk video first, actually.
I mean, I can do some announcements.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So like Jay mentioned earlier, we are crowdfunded. This is our job. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, Jay's going to be updating our gift goal. We need to hit that number by the end of each show so that we can keep the lights on and keep going, whether it's pissing people off or providing information that people enjoy to see. So if you guys could help knock that out, we do this every day from 9:30 a.m. to 1 o'clock Pacific time. So if you could help us out before the end of the show wraps up, we would greatly appreciate it. If you could subscribe to us over on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. Please subscribe also on YouTube. We've got 4 different memberships over there as well. And all that goes towards helping us keep the show going along. If you guys disagree with Jake and you want to talk with him and prove him wrong, how to do that is you see that the Venmo. That is the same as my Discord username. So if you want to DM me on Discord, Jen, JENNWDUBB, the number 1, I can bring you on to talk to Jay so you don't have to cry in the comments. But like Benny mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if you guys will because you just want to cry in the comments. So if you want to pull up, cool. If not, maybe shut up, but whatever. And then also check out our link tree. We've got merch and we're on most other social media platforms. Why did the dad bring a ladder to the bar with him?
Why did the dad?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
He heard the drinks were on the house.
Stupid. All right. Jeff, I don't know what you want us to cover. What should I be covering today, Jeff? What's bigger news in this country than Netanyahu? So far, I've covered that Netanyahu was here. We got a war in Israel-Palestine. We've got massive uncertainty in our markets. We have tariffs that are about to impact. What should I be covering? Should I be covering Trump's club championship? What do you want me to cover, Jeffrey? What's a bigger news story than what we're covering here? It's so goddamn sensitive. You always say mean things about Trump. He's the fucking president, man. This is a political show. What the fuck do you think we're going to cover? What do you want me? What am I supposed to? Let me tell you all about the breakdown from the NCAA basketball championships last night. What do you think I'm going to cover, man? You guys own the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Oh, and the Supreme Court. What do you want me to do? Report on a bunch of Democrats who disagree with you guys? Is that it? They have no power? This is what I cover, bro. You guys won an election. Stand 10 toes down now. You can't win the House, the Senate, and own the judiciary and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, MAGA baby, and then have people just like, hey, you can't criticize us though. You can't, even though we make all the decisions and you guys can't do anything, you can't criticize. Why would you criticize us the whole time? Because we can't do anything, dude. The people we voted for have no power. What do you want us to cover, dude? For real, Jeff. What do you want? What good things should I cover, Jeff? Put it in the chat. What good things should I cover, Jeff? What do I stand for? This isn't my personal fucking journal, Jeff. This is a show about the news, and you're frustrated about the news because you elected a fucking moron, and that's not our fault. I'm sorry that the news isn't being favorable to you. Why don't you tell us more about the things that you believe in? All right, I believe that all Americans, regardless of race, gender, sexuality, should have the same rights. And I don't think we should target any of those people. I think we should have universal health care because I don't think you should have to go pay all of your money to a doctor when you're sick. Even when you have health insurance, I don't think you should have a $20,000 deductible. I think that Americans should be guaranteed a living wage. That if you run a business like Walmart where you pay people minimum wage so that the government has to subsidize them with food stamps, that should be illegal. I don't think I think that education should be free or covered with taxes. I think college education should be covered. Now that you know who I am, do you understand why I'm criticizing you guys now? Tell me what you believe in. America first. What do you believe in, Jeffrey? Seems like all you're doing is criticizing, Jeffrey. Why so? Now you're criticizing my feelings, Jeffrey. What triggered so easily? Yeah, Jeffrey. Now we switched? This is what you just complained about. This is what you do. Tell us what you believe in. Now what are you doing? Now you're complaining about us? That's the point, Jeff. The real fucking point here, Jeff, is that you don't have a voice and you have nothing to say. And so you show up on the internet and you criticize people. And the second you get a little bit of attention, you fold like a cheap chair. All of you, you're all the same. You come in here and criticize. You get the attention you're looking for. We ask you to come up. You don't want to debate. You're not going to stand on anything. It's nice to have you here, though. We appreciate the engagement. Here's one of the idiots from your party, though. This is Charlie Kirk. I'm going to tell you something about Charlie Kirk and people like Charlie Kirk. People think Charlie Kirk wins debates. Charlie Kirk never wins debates. He just wins debates for people who don't know what they're watching. Charlie Kirk and all Republicans basically have the same debate strategy. Rattle off like 15 points so it sounds like it's a good argument, even if every single point you make is wrong. And because you have something memorized and because you know a bunch of random statistics, people think you're smart. The whole plan of any Republican in any sort of debate setting is to say something you don't have an answer to, whether it's true or false. And in this case, for Charlie Kirk, he gets a standing ovation here. He's posting this like it's a W. He got absolutely killed in this debate, and not a single Republican's going to know it. But I'll explain why.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Answer. Yes or no? Okay, so you say yes. Got it.
What's your opinion on that?
Everyone should be pardoned.
Okay, here is my thing I'm going to say about that. My father is
talking about January 6th, by the way. So Charlie Kirk believes all Jan 6ers should be pardoned.
A police officer. So if you're saying that someone injures him or kills him in the line of duty, I should support pardoning them?
So actually, that's not my position. My position is very simple.
You just said your position is everyone should be pardoned.
Well, hold on. Allow me to finish. I said everyone should be pardoned, but not because of what they were accused of doing.
Now, this is fucking slimy. So this is how Charlie Kirk is going to get out of the fact that he supports people who don't back the blue, people who beat the blue, and he supported a pardon for them. What he's about to do is rattle off a bunch of lies, and we're going to take them one by one. I'm going to show you how every single one of them's a lie.
Because they were deprived the due process. And here's the kicker, that the January 6th defendants were put in pretrial detention for nearly 2 years.
Happened to two people. Two people were put into pretrial detention for almost 2 years. And that is because one of them actually was released on bond and then broke their agreement. There were certain people I couldn't remember who, certain people he couldn't communicate with. That was the three people that had almost 2 years were Brandon Fellows. He's the one that was originally released, and then he got detained again for violating his pretrial terms. The other two are Enrique Tarrio and Guy Reffitt. Enrique Tarrio, of course, the leader of the Proud Boys. Guy Reffitt, one of the leaders of the 3 Percenters. And the reason that they were in pretrial detention is because there was evidence that they were, 1, flight risk, and 2, like they were up for seditious conspiracy. There was a plan. It was written down. They knew what the plan was. They knew that they had planned it. Those 2 guys had, I think Enrique Tarrio had pretrial confinement for just over 2 years. And I think Guy Reffitt was under 2 years. But to see what they do, remember, there were like, 600 people? So he's now saying, I support everybody being pardoned because the 2 that were charged with seditious conspiracy, that, by the way, they weren't even the ones that went in. They're the ones that tricked everybody else in. Those 2 people had long detentions. So that's lie number 1.
Many of whom were not given attorney representation.
0 of them were not given attorney representation. In fact, some of them didn't have attorneys, but only because they chose to represent themselves. There are 0 instances where somebody was not given an attorney, except in the case of people who asked for a public attorney that could afford a private attorney. There's income restrictions, right? So there are some people who requested a public attorney because they didn't want to spend the money, but they had the money to do it. Those are the only instances. I looked. Those are the only instances. Everybody else had an attorney. Do you really think in America that somebody came before a judge and the judge is like, "Where's your attorney?" And they were like, they wouldn't give me one. And the judge is like, "That's all right. Well, I guess we're gonna move on." Like that wouldn't be a front page story. It didn't happen. So that's a lie.
Attorney in particular made his defendant go watch videos saying that MAGA is brainwashing you and say, go unbrainwash yourself before the trial.
Lie number 3, he's talking about Jacob Chomsley. Jacob Chomsley is the QAnon shaman. And what Jacob Chomsley believed in some wild shit. Like Jacob Chomsley was a Pizzagate type guy. Like a these people are eating children guy. So his attorney didn't make him. You can't force anybody to watch any, but his attorney said, go watch these videos. Like before trial, if you still hold these beliefs, you're going to be eviscerated. So if you really believe in what you're saying, go watch these videos again, and go watch some breakdown videos and see maybe you're being lied to. What he didn't want is his that's a tough freeze frame for Charlie Kirk there. What he didn't want is his attorney or his client on the stand being like, yeah, well, Nancy Pelosi was eating children, so I was going to save the children. They'll be like, uh-oh, that's not real. You can't go to attack the Capitol because you thought Nancy Pelosi was eating children. You psycho. So that's a lie.
A complete violation of the 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment.
None of that. That's the right to speedy trial, right to representation, and what was the other 5th, 6th, and 7th? I always get them in the order wrong. What was 7th Amendment? I think that was 5, 6. Jury trial. Yeah. So none of their freedoms were stripped there. So I'm going to replay it in a minute, but everything he has said so far is untrue.
What I'm getting at, though, is that would you agree with the premise that if the tree is rotten, the fruit will be rotten?
Okay. See what he just tried to do there? He's saying that the reason I support these pardons is because they didn't get trial this. He's only, by the way, named things that happened to 4 of the 600 plus people. And those 4 were pretty violent. Like Jacob Chomsley was definitely committed a crime. He definitely was parading around. He definitely stole from the Capitol. And the other 3 people that he mentioned were violent offenders, or at the very least, they planned out the violent offenses. So he's taken 4 of the most obviously guilty people, made up lies about them, and said because of that, all of these people then should be pardoned. Let me just play it in one more time. And just see, remember, the point he's making, he's building all of this up to say that the tree is rotten. If you lie about the tree being rotten, you don't have a point anymore.
Your position is everyone should be pardoned.
Well, hold on. Allow me to finish. I said everyone should be pardoned, but not because of what they were accused of doing, because they were deprived of due process. And here's the kicker, that the January 6th defendants were put in pretrial detention for nearly 2 years, many of whom were not given attorney representation. One attorney in particular made his defendant go watch videos saying that MAGA is brainwashing you and say, go unbrainwash yourself before the trial. A complete violation of the 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment. What I'm getting
for all of those. All of that's wrong.
At, though, is that if you have, would you agree with the premise that if the tree is rotten, the fruit will be rotten?
I don't even know what you're referring to.
It's a metaphor.
No, my turn. So I want to know. I want to know if you think that what they did, storming the Capitol, in your opinion, is that right or wrong? Yes or no?
Well, it depends.
Yes or no?
So they were only
yes or no?
Peacefully
yes
storming
no?
the Capitol. Hold on a second.
Please just yes
peacefully,
or no. Yes or no?
Well,
do you agree
hold on a
that
second.
it's a good thing that they did or a bad thing?
Can I?
Yes or no?
Can I?
He wants her to say yes or no. Do you agree that if the tree is rotten, the fruit is too? He wants her to, and then when she just flips it on him, like, give me a yes or no. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Because he can't. He can't. There was no excuse for the J6ers to be pardoned. There was no reason for them to be pardoned. I still can't figure out why the fuck he did it. It didn't score him any political points. Why did he free the J6? Because they went and they backed up a lie. And what it does is it gives people in the future a little bit less fear about doing illegal things for Trump, because they're like, well, in the end, it'll be fine. We'll get pardoned.
You can answer yes or no.
Well, yes, and I'm answering it. Yes, because not everybody did that. So, for example, Siaka Massaquoi took 3 feet into the Capitol, said a prayer, and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted down by federal officials for 3 years?
Yes. Because that's a fucking lie too, Charlie Kirk. Let's talk about Massaquoi. Here's the article about Siaka Massaquoi. He was a former actor. This is him right here. He's more than 3 feet in the Capitol, but you also notice right here that he's confronting police as they're pushing through. Now, it says he's charged with his role. He serves as the first vice chair of the Republican Party of L.A. He was arrested in connection with the riot. According to the affidavit, Massaquoi was part of the D.C. Brigade, a Telegram channel of Trump supporters who planned their visit to the Capitol ahead of January 6th. Yada, yada, yada. Massaquoi flew to Vegas to D.C. Like countless others that day, Massaquoi attended Trump's speech at the Ellipse, and then the president implored his followers to fight like hell. Court documents show Massaquoi illegally entering the Capitol at around 3:38, more than a half hour after the initial violent breach that sent lawmakers and staffers scrambling. He's seen holding up a phone and recording his time inside the building. We have the right to walk into the Capitol because it's our Capitol, he allegedly said. People need to go to jail for inciting this fraud. Multiple investigations have disproved the presence of voter fraud in the 2020 election. Anyway, this is brother. You already had a hype head in my book. That people were praising him today, seeing you storm the Capitol with us. You just secured a top spot. Taylor, that same guy, pled guilty. All Massaquoi got, by the way, was disorderly conduct and trespassing misdemeanors for breaching the Capitol. So 2 misdemeanors is what he was charged with. And Charlie Kirk is up here saying that Charlie Kirk's up here saying all he did was go in and pray. First of all, he didn't just go in and pray. But even if he did just go in and pray, he was trespassing. He was absolutely trespassing. So I don't know what Charlie Kirk's getting at here. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong clip. Let's get back there.
But on January 6th, there was a lot of stuff I don't support. However, they were
thing that they did or a bad thing.
Can I?
Yes or no?
Can
you can answer yes or no.
Well, yes, and I'm answering it. Yes, because not everybody did that. So, for example, Siaka Massaquoi took 3 feet into the Capitol, said a prayer, and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted down by federal officials for 3 years and face 10 years in federal prison? Yes,
is that
sir.
What it looks like to you in those pictures? Just like this thing, and now he's going to get pissed. Now he's going to freak out. And now he's going to demand a yes or no. He didn't give a yes or no, and now he's going to demand a yes or no out of her. This guy is such a fucking phony and such a fake intellectual. He debates like all Republicans, and this is how you guys get duped. I get that this sounds convincing. If I was there and I was a Charlie Kirk supporter, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, she wasn't even ready for the Massaquoi reference. I wasn't either. But she doesn't have the benefit like I did of having Google. And she didn't have the benefit of having Google, and I've watched Charlie Kirk before, so I know when Charlie Kirk rattles off like 15 things, it's because he can't back up any of them, which is exactly what happened here. Charlie Kirk can't back this shit up. He put this out. Right-wingers are celebrating this, and this is the real divide that we have. This is why you guys won't debate. This is why we can't debate, because we can't even agree on what happened. We can't agree. We watched it happen. You guys want to rewrite history as if stuff we saw 5 minutes ago didn't just fucking happen. I don't know why it's hard for any Republican to say these people should not have been pardoned, except for that Donald Trump pardoned them. So now you've got to scramble and figure out a way to justify this, which is exactly what Charlie Kirk is doing here.
A prayer and went out. Do you agree he should be hunted down by federal officials for 3 years and face 10 years in federal prison? Yes or no?
He never faced 10 years in federal prison. He was not hunted down for 3 years. He was on a list, and somebody from his own party ratted him out. And look at Charlie Kirk now lose his fucking mind. I just named you 18 lies. Now I'm going to scream at you and demand a yes or no answer that I wouldn't allow you to do to me. And watch the Charlie Kirk bros go nuts. You can't be a Charlie Kirk fan and also have any level of intelligence. It's not possible. You could only be a Charlie Kirk fan if you just love trolling. If you think the person who wins the debate wins it with tone. But you can't be a intellectually honest person and be a Charlie Kirk fan.
Bound by federal officials for 3 years and face 10 years in federal prison? Yes or no? Yes or no? Answer. Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so you say yes. Got it. So, but however, I think what happened on January 6th, there was a lot of stuff I don't support. However, they were treated so terribly by our own government as political prisoners. Here is the truth. Even if you go do something as evil as shoot school, you deserve 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment protection rights.
And they all got 5th, 6th, and 7th Amendment protection rights. Nobody was, none of the people he mentioned, none of these Jan 6ers, none of them had any of their rights taken away from them. None.
These January 6 defendants did not get their basic constitutional rights protected.
Yes, they
did. They literally had to sleep on the ground of the D.C. jail as January 6 gulags. You look at these pictures, they had to go sleep on like the floor with no food for days, acting as...
All right, so he told the truth. We're 2 minutes, 15 seconds in. Charlie Kirk finally told the truth. Only one of those two things is true. There's no evidence. There has not been shown any evidence that anybody was denied food. There are many Jan 6ers who refused food based on, and I think what he's referencing here is Jacob Chomsley was like, I'm a vegan. And they were like, we don't have vegan options, dude. Sorry, you're in prison or you're in jail. We don't have a vegan option. This is what you get. So he's referring to the fact that they wouldn't go out and get a vegan option for Jacob Chomsley, which he obviously can't say because like vegans are pussies, right? Like vegans are libs, vegans are betas. He can't say that. So he's just saying that they were refused food. The other part of it is true. There were people who were kept in conditions that weren't great, where they were required to sleep on the floor. And then a member of the Senate stood up and put an end to that publicly and put pressure on the mayor of D.C. to give them better treatment. You know who that senator was? That was Elizabeth Warren. So the one thing he said in this so far that is true, Elizabeth Warren is the one that got it turned. Elizabeth Warren's the one that stood up for them and got things situated. Interesting, right?
If that this was some sort of Moscow internment camp. What President Trump did was very simple. This was a statement towards the justice system. You guys did not treat these people, who some of which did very bad things, with basic constitutional due process rights. It was a pardon wiping the slate clean, saying even the person who does the grossest thing should be able to have the same rights of due process and the presumption of innocence of somebody who did absolutely nothing wrong.
And that's why it's such a dumb fucking argument. This argument would make sense. Let's just say that there were 2 or 3 people who didn't get due process. It would make sense to wipe the slate clean for all of these people if they were all tried in one trial. But they weren't. These were all individual trials. If 10,000 people get arrested for shoplifting and then 3 of them don't get due process, does everybody get let off the hook? That's how this is supposed to work? These were all individual trials. I'm telling you, like, Charlie Kirk is just good at talking. But if you're a person who regularly listens to Charlie Kirk, 90% of what you believe is bullshit. like actual lies. His job is simple, and he has the same job I do, so a little bit different. His job is to get eyeballs. The difference between he and a lot of other people like Charlie Kirk is that Charlie Kirk also has very rich benefactors. And Charlie Kirk takes money from campaigns. And Charlie Kirk left pretending to be like a political analyst or a creator or a newsman, and instead is simply a paid propagandist. So for me, if I want to get more eyes, if I want to get more eyes on me, I've got to give a better product, because that's the only way I'll ever make more money, right? For Charlie, if Charlie wants to make more money, he'll never do it through YouTube. He'll never do it through Patreon. He won't do it through Rumble. He'll do it because dark money PACs give him money. They literally pay this guy to do like youth outreach for the Republican Party. This is the youth outreach guy. So Charlie's not ever allowed to say things that are against the administration, because they're the ones that are paying him. That's why Charlie's arguments are so goddamn dumb, is because Donald Trump does a lot of dumb things. And if you are in his pocket, then you have to just defend what he's doing. Why do you think all these dark money groups give money to Charlie Kirk, to Benny Johnson, to Ben Shapiro? Why do you think that is? Because they want a little bit of control over the narrative. They want people in times like right now. They want these, as Donald Trump rolls out the dumbest fucking tariff policy of all time and drags us into war. These same dark money groups that want Donald Trump to do certain things for him are going to tell Charlie Kirk, hey, we need this guy in power, so it's your job to make sure that your people don't turn on him. Because as long as we have the MAGA base, as long as the MAGA base doesn't turn on us, we can continue doing whatever the fuck we want. As long as Mike Johnson's seat is safe, as long as Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat is safe, as long as we have that base, it doesn't even really matter if they lose places like Arizona. But as long as they have that MAGA base, 30, 40, 50 million people that are going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what he does, then they get to do what they want. Because that amount of voters in that many red states is enough to really control Congress. So that's what this guy is. Always remember that Charlie Kirk is paid to deliver a message, a very specific message, and that message is Trump never does anything wrong. No matter what Trump does, we're going to spin it as great and brilliant. And if somebody else does the exact same thing and they have a D next to their name, oh my God, talk about it forever like it's the worst thing on earth. Don't believe me? Let's talk about Benny Johnson. You guys remember Benny Johnson? Paid propagandist. Here's Benny Johnson. Guys, first of all, Benny Johnson 100% is morphing into Tucker Carlson. He's doing a Tucker Carlson impersonation now, which I mean, he's such a phony that it makes sense that like he's playing a character. The one thing you'll always know about Benny Johnson is this guy's just always playing a character. You'll never know who any of these people on the right actually are. You'll never get a good understanding of who they are because they're just paid propagandists. Here's Benny Johnson telling us, guys, you know what? If you lose money, that's actually good for you. If your retirement account's wiped out, that's good for you.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing.
What if you're old and smart and you lose money, Benny? What if you're old and smart? Still count?
In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
It's bloody Black Monday.
Oh, what is this? 2024? This must be something totally different.
Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here.
Kamala needs to get in front of a camera.
In 2024, when the market goes down, they blamed the fucking vice president. Can you imagine if we were all blaming J.D. Vance right now? Crazy, right? Crazy how that... why... If he's principled, if he thinks what he's saying, like that it's actually good for you, it seems like a year apart, his message would be the same, right?
Needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history.
History tells us that it didn't make the top 10, but 7, I think maybe 8 days under Donald Trump did make the top 10. History tells us you were wrong. Find me one. Find me something like that from me. I dare you. Find one of those from me. Ever. You're never going to find that from me. By the way, the crash in 2020 in 2024, what day was this? Had nothing to do with like a new policy that was introduced. That's the main difference. Like, people look back at the stock market from 2022, 2023, and they see that dip, and it's like, obviously everybody knows what that dip was. That was COVID. And even though everybody knew what that dip was, they blamed Joe Biden. And that was the argument we had with Republicans that whole time. They're like, this is Joe Biden's fault. We're like, well, it's COVID. And they're like, doesn't matter. He's the president. It's on him. Okay. Then when it comes to Donald Trump, they're like, it's not his fault. It's just the market overreacting. But it's something he did that he didn't have to do. Like, this dip is 100% Trump. 100%. He owns it. Members of Republican Congress are saying that. Yesterday, John Kennedy, actually, maybe I can find it. Let's see. Here's John Kennedy admitting this exact thing. This is 100% Trump. Don't be mistaken on which John Kennedy we're talking about. It's not the John Kennedy that you think is coming back and running for president.
Well, it may not. It's been painful, but it may turn out well. It may not. If
Thanks,
it doesn't
Rory.
turn out well, I think the president will recalibrate.
To that point, do you think it's Donald Trump's economy now?
Oh, I think it is. There's no question. I think once he decided to add the tariffs, clearly, I mean, he will be held responsible, as he should, whether it turns out good or it turns out badly.
Is there a point at which you would consider supporting taking tariff authority back into congressional hands? There have been some efforts in the Senate to do that.
Well, if I finally concluded that what the president is proposing is not going to work, or if the treatment is worse than the disease, sure. And I'm going to look at Senator Grassley's bill very closely.
This is what's driving me nuts about Republicans right now. She's saying, are you open to the idea of Congress taking back the power of tariffs? So the president doesn't have that power when he takes something like this. And what Kennedy is saying is only if it doesn't work out. That's a weird thing to say, right? Like, the reason that Congress would take it back is because the president shouldn't unilaterally have power to do this. The president should not have this much control over everything. The president was never intended for the president to have this much control. But it's interesting how none of them, they're all saying the same thing too, by the way. Yeah, we'll take it back if he fucks it up. Well, why aren't we acknowledging the fact that, like, he probably shouldn't have the ability to do this? That's the real discussion. He already fucked some things up for now. You can keep the tariffs in place if you want. You guys are in control of it, but why not take the tariffs away from one guy? Why not spread it out? Why not have some discussion? It's one guy making this decision, and he's not even telling any of us why he's doing it. For every Republican in the chat, the one thing I don't know why you're okay with is you don't know why he's doing it. Why are you cool with that? You guys went from like, oh, dude, fucking deep state, man, it's the swamp. And now he shows up, he's like, I'll tell you guys later. You're like, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's totally different than like the deep state. It's way different. You'll just tell us later? All right, cool. No evidence? Cool. Yeah, but that's what it's different than the deep state, guys. This is different because it's Trump. He's different. Rory said, for the goal, thank you. Maggie said, Kirk versus RTP, please. I don't know if Charlie Kirk's planning on doing much debating anymore. Johnny said, PTSD is a daily battlefield for me. It's real. Yeah. So anybody who's seen that service, I mean, I've told this story before, but like one time a guy tried to break into my house and I held him at gunpoint. This wasn't that long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. One time. I think about it every single night. Every time I hear a noise outside, I think about that. And that, in comparison to the people that have served, who have seen combat, it's nothing. So yeah, I can imagine I would be a mess if it was something far worse than that. All right, done with Kennedy there. I hate Benny Johnson's face, by the way. All right. For any of you Reagan-loving Republicans, let me just remind you of Ronald Reagan. And remind Republicans that are here of the argument. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is arguing. I take that back. Some Republicans, some like far right-wing Republicans, like don't believe in tariffs at all. People like Rand Paul, people like, I guess not far right, I would say like libertarian. Some of them don't believe in tariffs at all. I would imagine there potentially some people. I could see people that are more communist also probably wouldn't believe in tariffs. I think there's like some fringe elements of both sides that are like tariffs are always bad, but for the most part, like let's call it 90% of America thinks that tariffs are fine if they're used correctly. So I want to get that out of the way first. The argument is not tariffs versus not tariffs. It's how to use tariffs. And this is like Reagan saying something incredibly sensible here, which every economist knows. This isn't a partisan issue. Tariffs were never really a partisan issue until the only reason they become a partisan issue is because this guy doesn't know how to use them, and he never admits that he's wrong. And so we now have a situation where you guys are forced to defend something that before Donald Trump, none of you would have defended. You would have all thought this was crazy before Trump. There was no argument for this Trump version. Even Trump himself, he says that he's been arguing for this for 35 years. That's not even true. That's absolutely untrue. He was very measured on tariffs, and he talked a few times about tariffs and how to use them properly. He's not doing what he used to say. But here's Ronald Reagan reading from a script, so I'm guessing he didn't write this, but he was excellent. As an actor, he was a good delivery mechanism.
You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time.
Thanks, Pink.
What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity. Now, it hasn't always been easy. There are those in the Congress, just as there were back in the 30s, who want to go for the quick political advantage, who risk America's prosperity for the sake of a short-term appeal to some special interest group.
Does that not sound like everybody that talked about tariffs before this? That's what everybody thinks about tariffs. There was never any argument about tariffs before now. Until Peter Navarro and Howard Lutnick got involved, nobody thought this. Before Peter Navarro started citing himself as an expert in his books, nobody thought this. And still nobody thinks it. Just Trump. Nobody can even figure out what's going on. I'll show you a clip here in a second from some people from the Trump administration. I missed one. Jose said, what is MAGA going to do when Trump takes their rights away too? I mean, look, I don't think they would recognize, I don't think that they recognize rights being taken away. I really don't. I think that MAGA can easily be stripped of their rights without them knowing all the time. In fact, it does happen all the time. Just the idea of requiring voter ID or limiting or requiring in-person voting, that takes away people's rights. That makes it harder to access their rights. It establishes a poll tax, which is unconstitutional. But because they've been told that this is a way for Democrats to cheat and illegal immigrants to vote, they'll vote for it. They don't know when their rights are being stripped. They don't recognize that keeping minimum wage artificially low takes away their right to negotiate. They don't realize that being anti-union, that states being allowing union busting, states allowing at-will employment is an attack on their rights. The problem with most Republicans is they don't know when their rights are being taken away. They don't, and it's because it's pitched to them in a way that's like, dude, if you think that's your rights being taken away, you're a fucking pussy and you just suck at capitalism, bro. Bro, just go out and work harder. Grind. Dude, you just got to grind, bro. Don't have a negative mindset. Be abundant. We must have an abundance mentality. When I worked in the company that I ran, we were a door-to-door sales company. And this is when I was mostly conservative, but then I saw I was leaving conservatism and changing a lot of my views as I came out of there. What I can tell you is this, is that we would often have people come in who were making no money. It was a 100% commission job. The department I ran wasn't. We paid salaries and hourly, but our sales side was 100% commission. These were 1099 contractors, and they had no control over where they went. As far as area went, some guy who was their manager got to choose their area, and they would just do it off Google Maps. And the people who were high, top performers, they would get the best areas. So they would know, for example, originally we sold Dish Network and DirecTV. And what you knew is that if you could find a city where there was like a local retailer that sold Dish Network, you could go in there and you could switch everybody to DirecTV because they would have had Dish Network for a lot of them 20 years. And Dish Network's not going to give them any of the new stuff for free. They're not going to upgrade it. So we could always go in and we could be like, hey, you've had Dish Network for 20 years. Check this out. This is called a DVR. You can record your shows now. You don't even have to, all those tapes you have, you don't even need those. You can record your show. We'll update it. And we're going to lower your price for 2 years. It was the easiest thing in the world. In fact, if you go right now, if anybody lives in, I don't know, is there anybody here in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico? I feel like last time I brought up Truth or Consequences, somebody was here. If you go to Truth or Consequences today, probably, maybe 3 years ago. But I would imagine that if you went to Truth or Consequences, New Mexico today, you would notice as you walked through a lot of manufactured homes there, you would notice that 80% of the city has DirecTV. And that was me and 3 of my friends. But there were other people that were also working that were knocking in neighborhoods in Albuquerque, places where door-to-door salesmen knock all the time. And these independent contractors that we hired, they didn't get to choose their area. They worked at the will of their manager. They could go places where their manager sent them. Most of the time, if you were a first year, you couldn't have your own car. They just dropped you off in an area and you were stuck there. And by the way, if things aren't going well, if you're not happy with the company that you're working with and you're a 1099 contractor, meaning that you are an independent contractor, which means technically you own your own business, you know what else a lot of these states could do? Arizona could do it. Utah could do it. Idaho could do it. A lot of places in the Midwest could do it. Oklahoma could do it. This is where we signed all of our contracts. We were allowed to create non-compete agreements, meaning that if somebody worked for us and they were they either had a bad experience or somebody offered them more money or they just wanted to work with their friends at another company, we had a non-compete agreement. They were not allowed, as a business owner who owned their own business, who we didn't pay any money to unless they made sales for us, we were allowed to do non-compete agreements. That is an example of your rights being taken away from you without you knowing. And what we would say to these people when people would complain about that, the owners of these companies were like, dude, it's not, just sell better. We have all the tools you have necessary. It's your fault. It's your fault things aren't going well. As if culture doesn't matter, right? As if enjoying your job doesn't make a difference on whether or not you do a good job. And then in our call centers, let's say that you just had somebody that you didn't like, that wasn't a good culture fit. You could just fire them. Didn't matter. You had at will, and it was nearly impossible for them to get representation if they wanted to file a complaint and try and get unemployment. It was a bar for them. The unemployment office would come to us. They would first of all, you'd have to go make a claim. You'd have to request certain documentation. Then they would come to us, and if we just said, yeah, we fired them for cause, almost impossible for them to say we didn't fire you for cause, right? Oh, next to impossible. So rights get stripped away from Republicans all the time, and they don't know. It's because like they believe in a culture. They believe that somehow I think they think you can like legislate culture into people. That you can just make people be more cool with capitalism. That if everybody was just cooler and worked harder, that everything would work out better. So yeah, so no, sorry, longest answer ever. No, I don't think they'll know. I don't think that they'll even notice if their rights get stolen. Here's Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins. I don't know what her qualifications are, by the way. I've got some questions about Brooke Rollins in the way she answered this. She was on with Jake Tapper, and listen to her try and defend what's going on here.
I have 100% faith in the formulas that they used and how they came up with these numbers.
All right. I mean, they say that you...
We're talking about the graph. She just said, I have 100% faith. What was that quote? In the formulas that they used and how they came up with these numbers. Faith. You shouldn't be using the word faith in politics, by the way. If you find yourself saying, I have faith in this politician, think again. Don't do that. Don't ever have faith. Don't have faith in Bernie Sanders. Like probably the cleanest politician of all time. Do not take Bernie Sanders at his word, ever. Fact check everything he says, everything he does. Never have faith. If a politician that you like is like, hey, just trust me on this one, don't do it. Do not do it ever. And certainly don't do it if you're like, you're Secretary of Agriculture. I have faith in Donald.
And how they came up with these numbers.
All right. I mean, they say that you use retail prices as opposed to import prices, and they make a compelling case. I'd ask you to check it out. The reason I ask you
I have
is because,
not read.
Yeah. Well, I'd ask you to check it out. You should read it. The reason I ask is because a lot of people are questioning the level of scholarship here behind how these tariffs were done. For example, President Trump laid out with a giant graphic of all the countries where tariffs were going to be, what he called reciprocal tariffs were going to be imposed. And you're imposing a 10% tariff on the Heard and McDonald Islands. The Heard and McDonald Islands have 0 human inhabitants. They have 0 exports. They have 0 imports. They do have a lot of penguins. Why are you putting import tariffs on islands that are entirely populated by penguins?
Wow, Rollins graduated with honors from Texas A&M University with a degree in agricultural development. Shout out, Brooke Rollins. Sounds like she's qualified. Thank you for whoever got that. Was not qualified to answer this question though. This wasn't good.
Well, I mean, come on, Jake. Obviously, here's the bottom line. We live under...
I like how they think it's silly. I don't know why you guys bring that up. It's so silly that you focus on these 2 islands. No, it's silly that you guys did that. It's silly that nobody caught it. And it's silly that you expect us to believe that somehow... By the way, I don't know if you guys know how math works. If you are calculating tariffs, it doesn't matter what equation you use. If the product, if the GDP or the import number is 0, you can have a 48-page equation. If the input is 0, it's 0. There's no tariffs. So if you're charging reciprocal tariffs to a country that doesn't have humans and doesn't import anything, how the fuck did you get to 10? That's the point of this. I think people are like, like her. They're like, oh, this is silly. You guys are focusing on semantics. No, you guys said you used an equation to get all of these numbers. But if the input is 0 into your equation, then you can't get 10%. There's no way to get 10% of 0. There's no such thing as 10% of 0. So how can you tariff a good that's not coming in? And then how can you retroactively add a tariff, a reciprocal tariff when they're not charging you tariffs? How did this equation happen? The input is 0. They're all dismissing this. And I think that maybe Tapper needs to hammer this home here, and I think maybe Republicans need to hammer this home. But the point of the islands is not, oh my God, they're stupid. It's, oh my God, they're lying. Because the equation could not have spit out 10% when the input was 0. That's why they keep getting asked this question. It shows that this entire thing is bullshit, that they're lying, that they're just making up numbers. And again, Republicans don't care. Oh, it's fine. They could just lie to us because they said that it's unfair, and so we have to come back at the tariffs to them because their tariffs are unfair to us, so we're going to do the tariffs to them on them. That's a pretty good MAGA impression, huh? That's not bad. Watching them rob us blind at every turn. Aren't prices high enough? Yeah. All right.
A tariff regime from other countries. We have
Not
too long
the McDonald Islands is not imposing
the idea that America goes first. I mean, come on. Whatever. Listen, the people that are leading this are serious, intentional, patriotic, the smartest people I've ever worked with. I did not come up with it.
Wait, I hope you're joking. Hold on. I hope this guy's joking. Who was that? Kevin, I hope you're joking, Kevin. I apologize if I'm reacting to this. You don't have the brain to understand what the fuck has zero tariffs. A product that doesn't exist has zero tariffs. And those islands have no products. There's no people there. They don't make anything. The penguins are not exporting anything. And the penguins certainly have not put tariffs on our product. I hope to God you were trolling. But if you weren't, oh, Lord, my friend, you got to learn more things before you vote next time. We got to do a little bit better job. If that was your real comment, we got to do a better job before the next time we vote, okay?
The formulas.
Trump has already brought 50 countries to the table. This is working perfectly. We got a president that gets shit done. Yeah, what did he get done? People called him. They're like, hey, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You don't even know. Like, this is the thing. You don't even know what to celebrate. Republicans don't even know what the fuck to celebrate. You won't know if this is if it's working or not. You just said that it was evidence that it was working that people called him. That's not evidence of anything. That's evidence that people are like, let's talk about it. That's it. That's the whole thing. And by the way, if you all of a sudden, if you like, let's say you have an apartment and all of a sudden your apartment's like, hey, we're doing an $85 fee now on top of your rent. And then you're like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And they're like, well, excuse me, 50 people have already called us, so it's working. You'd be like, no, that's not working. They're mad. They're mad and they live here, so they're trying to get things fixed. It's not the intent of the tariffs is not to have countries call us. The intent for tariffs is supposed to be that we protect American jobs or American industries. That's what tariffs are supposed to be used for. Not to get a phone call. They won't. It's like what's Donald Trump's just like a jealous boyfriend. Yeah, she won't call me back. So I told her that I'm in her closet, and now she's here in her bedroom, just me and her. It's working. It's like, bro, that's not work. That's not what we were trying to do, bud. We weren't trying to get return calls from other countries. We have bigger issues than that. I'm sorry. If Donald's not getting calls back, I don't know. Maybe you could hit him up on Twitter or WhatsApp or something like that. Here's how Toy Maker is responding now. This is what a lot of companies are having to do right now. And this is where it gets scary. This is what my friend was telling me that owns a golf company. He was saying, like, I just don't know. Like, the hard part is I don't know what to do. So one of the golf manufacturers reached out to him, and they were basically like, hey, here's what we'll do. You keep your auto orders on, but every 6 weeks we'll send, and we're gonna keep your auto orders on, but we're gonna charge you the tariffs. And then every 6th shipment, we're gonna give you some free stuff to offset the amount that we charged you for the tariffs. And he's like, I don't really know. Like, I don't actually know how long these tariffs are gonna last. I can't even make an informed decision. That's the problem all of these companies have, and this is the reason that so many of them are upset with Donald Trump. They're trying to run a business, and they have to guess right now because Trump won't tell them the truth. And some of these guesses could cost them hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on the size of your business. It's not good for the economy when business owners are guessing, and they have no clue. There's like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure what to do here. That's where a lot of people are frustrated.
The trade war is making business at Shazam's toy store anything but fun and games. How much of your store depends on imports?
Wow, over 90%.
To get ahead of tariffs, owners Joanne Ferrugia and Dean Smith dipped into their cash savings, spending $400,000, nearly double their usual budget to stockpile toys and books.
We scrambled to figure out which countries were being affected in what way. And then when we saw the list, it felt like there was nowhere to run.
What happens when you use up that stockpile?
Then we're going to be subject to these tariffs.
The U.S. is home to 3% of the world's children, but buys 38% of the world's toys. Last year, the industry was valued at $42 billion.
Consumers might look at things like toys and think, hey, is this discretionary spending? Do we really have to have it? What do you say to that?
So, as a toy store co-owner, I would say yes, because a child's work is play, and so this all matters.
With no way to absorb all the extra costs, Jazam says it will be forced to pass them on or close its doors.
It feels right now that small businesses are being abandoned. That's tragic.
And Nancy Chen joins us now. So,
and do you think there's anybody in it has the ear of Donald Trump and his economic advisors that's standing up for small businesses? Who in the cabinet do you think is there standing up for small businesses? I don't think there's anybody. All right, Kevin, I'm going to answer your question though. Thanks for asking that. Kevin asked, "What countries have zero tariffs?" I'll show you, Kevin. I'm going to take you to this map here. Let's go here. All right. This is a map, Kevin, of the Heard and McDonald Islands. Now I'm gonna. Hopefully you're still here, Kevin. I'm gonna zoom out here so that you can see where the Heard and McDonald Islands are. Zoom all the way out here. They're right here. They're near Antarctica, in the middle of nowhere. Now, if I zoom in, one thing you're going to notice about the Heard and McDonald Islands, and let's go here. Let's switch this to terrain. Do they have like a satellite view? There we go. We're going to do a satellite view here, Kev. And what you'll notice about this island is that there are no roads. There are no people. There are no houses. See this? It's just an island mostly covered in ice. You see that? And so these people, there are no tariffs because there's no imports, because there's no people. And in order to have exports, in order to have exports, you're going to need people. And nobody lives on this motherfucking island, Kevin. Just penguins. So there were no tariffs either on or from the Heard Island and McDonald Islands. None. There were zero tariffs here, Kevin. You did say it was a simple Google search, so here I'm showing you this place. And now you got to ask yourself, how the fuck did this little piece of ice in the ocean with no humans on it get charged a tariff because of an equation? See again, zero. If you have zero exports, zero imports, you have zero tariffs always. You can't have 1%, you can't have 2%, you can't have 3%, you can't have 100%. 100,000 million % tariffs is still on their exports or imports would all be zero. So the question they were asking, and this is the fair question, remember, if Trump had just said, I'm going to slap a 10% tariff on the Heard and McDonald Islands, the story would be, God damn, that guy's dumb. And we used this equation to come up with it. Are we still here, Kevin? So the argument here is not that they accidentally labeled one of these things or accidentally didn't know that there were no people there. The real issue here is they claim that they took the tariffs, used an equation, and that's how they got to 10%. So it's even dumber than knowing that there's no people here, which I didn't know. I never heard of Heard Island and McDonald Islands until this came up. I'm going to guess that most people here, maybe everybody here, had never heard of these islands. But that's not the point. The point is they told you that there's a rhyme or reason to this, and it's a mathematical equation, and that's a lie. And we know that that's a lie because we know how that equation works with zero. And by the way, they also use like a weirdly complex equation where part of the equation is 4 times 0.25, which is 1. And anything multiplied or divided by 1 stays the same. And so they made it look more complex than it really was. And it just wasn't. Like, this whole thing is a facade. But great job, Kev, for getting us there. Thank you, Rory, for joining the Dollar Train. Let me check messages. Jen, you want to do your thing? You may want to. Tiger Lady says, what will MAGA say when he takes the guns? I was talking to somebody, my friend, about that the other day. I mean, I haven't thought about that, but I do have a lot of people saying that lately. I'd be interested to know what your reasoning is for thinking he may take the guns. But I think for some, it would be a deal breaker. I think for others, they would go along with it. Melissa said, thanks, Jay. I spat my coffee on myself with the MAGA voice. Sorry about that. And Pink, thanks for the Dollar Train. Jen, you here?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Awesome.
We got another sitting that with through right now. All right, so if you look in the top left-hand corner, just got to update the remaining balance on that. So when he does that, we've got to knock out the rest of that balance before the end of the show. This is our job. So we are crowdfunded, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out the rest of that goal. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub, YouTube. You can just subscribe. Also, please hit the little red heart, like the stream. That helps us out a lot. We also post regular content and videos. So if you go over there and check out a video or two, interact, it would help us out as well. If you guys are in the comments, Kevin, if you're still here, how to talk to Jay so you don't have to get wrecked from the comments is you see the Venmo, it's Jen, Jenn, Dub, DUBB, the number 1. And anyone else who wants to prove Jay wrong, that's how you message me on Discord, and I can bring you in to talk to him. Also, check out our link tree on all kinds of different social media platforms, and we have some different merch. So yeah, there's all that kind of stuff. Why is dark spelled with a K and not a C?
It's a good question.
Because you can't see in the dark.
Stupid. So stupid. All right. We're going to talk about, before we get into some tariffs, did I throw this in here? Yeah, we'll go there. Yeah, we'll do that. One of the things I had to learn more about today was like the how treasury bonds work. And I got thinking about it because of this video.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was just exposed for investing $750,000 into treasury bonds weeks before the stock market crash, and now those bonds are worth a lot more because of the crash. This is according to Sludge, who tracks money in politics, and they found that on Greene's transaction disclosures, she made 3 separate investments worth $750,000 into treasury bonds from mid to late March. Mind you, this is the same time when investment firms, investors, and foreign nations were scrambling to figure out what Donald Trump was planning to do on his big April 2nd Liberation Day. So think about it. As the biggest investors in the world were contemplating what to do with their money, Marjorie Taylor Greene went ahead and made one of the smartest investment decisions in the world and parked her money in assets that would only appreciate if there was a stock market crash, which there was on April 2nd. So ask yourself, is Marjorie Taylor Greene just the best investor in the global economy? Or was Greene acting on information that only she was privy to due to her relationship with Donald Trump? Sounds like we have a Martha Stewart situation on our hands. Marjorie?
So that's the one that caught me off guard. Or got me thinking about it. Somebody said Nancy Pelosi is the queen of insider trading. Yeah, that's just a thing that you're told, by the way. There are a lot of people in Congress that outperform Nancy Pelosi, and none of them have a husband who does this for a living and who was independently wealthy before them. So I understand. I'm sure that there's been some insider trading from Nancy Pelosi, but when it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, you don't even have really like an excuse for it. She's just brilliant when it comes to finances. Marjorie Taylor Greene just really has her thumb on the pulse of the markets. Is that what we're supposed to believe? Carol says, I'm hearing rumblings of Trump declaring martial law on April 20th. What do you think about that? How should we prep for this if true? Thank you. I've not heard that. And Alexander said, for Kevin's private education you're providing today, I'm paying for MAGA rates. I'm sorry, this economy is rough. Thank you. Carol, I haven't heard that. Jesus. I mean, in order to declare martial law, he's going to have to declare war. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess if he's declaring war, I've not heard any of those rumors. There's not a lot you can do if you're preparing yourself for martial law. I will say this. I do think that other countries are preparing for it. I think other countries are preparing for people to leave America, or at least the option. This is really interesting, and it kind of fucked up my day. Wait, is this it? Shit, where is it? Oh, did I not save it? Let me find this real quick. I was watching a video today of people going to Mexico. Let's see, Mexico visa. Maybe we can find it. Yeah, here it is.
Are experiencing some changes during spring break.
This was I just found this out this morning. I'm actually prepping to go to Mexico to get a tooth fixed. So now I have to be aware of this, but check out what Mexico's doing now.
Now to the U.S.-Mexico border, where travelers are experiencing some changes during spring break travel. If you're heading south of the border for your vacation, you'll need more than just your passport. Mexico is now requiring U.S. citizens to fill out an immigration form before they can cross. And it's created incredibly long lines at the port of entry.
This process is not new, but Mexican immigration authorities are now strictly enforcing it, leaving people waiting hours to get into Mexico and having to pay.
Countless Arizonans, Jim McCauley and his wife who live in Scottsdale, were heading into Mexico for a day trip.
It's something we've done many, many times before.
They usually go in on foot and say the process is easy.
Normally walking into Mexico is just like walking into a Walmart.
But on Thursday, when they got to the point of entry in Yuma, that wasn't the case.
The line was very, very long.
U.S. citizens traveling into Mexico not only have to bring their passport, but now must obtain a travel visa.
Get me out of there! Man, did you just say that going to Mexico was like taking a trip to Walmart?
All right. So I just saw that today, which means Mexico, not only retaliatory tariffs like traveling options. Let's see. I went in and while we were looking at that, I trying to figure out where this rumor is coming from. Looks like, at least from what I can find, this is the San Francisco Chronicle, saying, is Trump preparing to invoke the Insurrection Act? Signs are pointing that way. The clock is ticking down on a crucial but little noticed part of President Trump's first round of executive orders, the one tasking the secretaries of the Department of Defense of Homeland Security to submit a joint report within 90 days, recommending whether to invoke the Insurrection Act. That is linked to, I'll show you guys how to research. We're Republicans. Hey, Republicans. Hey, out of the comments. Republicans, eyes on me. Eyes on me. I'm going to teach you guys how to do research here, okay? So this is how you find out if shit's true, so you don't have to just knee-jerk say nothing is true. All right. We clicked on the article here. San Francisco Chronicle. They're mentioning this report. Now, if I hover over it, see how I can click on it? I'm going to open that in a new link. And now we know, now we're at the whitehouse.gov, and these are Trump's words. So they're basing this on this story. America's sovereignty is under attack. Our southern borders overrun by cartels, criminal gang, known terrorists, human traffickers, yada, yada, yada. The invasion has caused widespread chaos and suffering in our country over the last 4 years. That's right. Only the last 4 years. It was perfect before that. To protect the safety and of the United States citizens, protect other states against invasion, and uphold my duty to take care of the laws that be faithfully executed. It's my responsibility to ensure yada, yada, yada. Let's see. I therefore, here's the statement, I think. Donald Trump, President of the United States, by the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, hereby declare that a national emergency exists at the southern border, and that Section 12302 of Title 10 United States Code is invoked and made available. Yada, 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 yada. I hereby declare this emergency requires use of the armed forces in accordance with Section 303. Deployment of personnel resources, additional physical barriers. Let's see. See if there's a part on here. It talks about here it is. Within 90 days of this proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to the President about the conditions at the southern border of the United States and any recommendations regarding additional actions that may be necessary to obtain complete operational control of the southern border. Okay. Fuck me. Including whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. All right, well. So maybe they're talking about it. I don't know. Motherfucker, that's in 12 days. How about that, Republicans? How about that, Republicans in the chat? They were like, no. And then it's just right there. He did say it. So yes, on April 20th, it looks like there's going to be a report on whether or not we're going to use the Insurrection Act. So I don't know. Don't get mad at us. He wrote it. We didn't write it. These are his words, not our words. Don't get mad at us. I hope that answered your question. Push Pop said, what's the difference between a chickpea and a garbanzo bean? Trump has never had a garbanzo bean on his face. Interesting. All right. Well, that's where that report came from. So I think it's fair. I think it's justifiable to be nervous about that. April 20th is how about ruining 420? Somebody told me, is that real? Was Hitler's birthday really April 20th? That really fucks up 420 for me. It's it's the only holiday that I celebrate religiously. It's the only one. I didn't know that. All right, back to the stock market. So we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's investing in treasury bonds. I had to look this up. So the way that treasury bonds work, I just want to see where the rates were. The way a treasury bond works, let's say I'm going to give, I buy a treasury bond, and it's like let's call it 4.5% is the treasury bond. Every 6 months, I'm going to receive a payment from the treasury. And at the end, when those vest, whether they're a 10, 20, 30-year treasury bond, when those vest, I get my money back. So as soon as that vests, I get all my money back. But in the meantime, I'm getting a return of a 4.5% on my investment. That's what a treasury bond is. I think when she bought it, it was somewhere around that, like 4.5%. We're expecting treasury bonds to drop. Like we're expecting the rate to drop. We've already seen the rate drop a little bit. We expect treasury bonds to drop, but you are grandfathered in at whatever rate you buy the treasury bond for. So if treasury bonds drop, that makes hers more valuable, right? So there's a reason to buy treasury bonds before they drop. If you know a drop is about to come, it's a good idea. Then if they cut the rates, and depending on what advice she's getting, there's also a scenario where they cut the rates, the Fed drops the rates, and treasury bonds go up. Then at which point, then you're selling them for more. So not sure exactly Marjorie Taylor Greene's strategy there, but that's a significant investment. $750,000 right before this happened is significant, and we won't do anything about it because we never investigate the people in Congress. We just allow them to invest, but it is. I think it's at least indicative that people knew this was coming. Here's Bill Ackman, very pro-MAGA, Bill Ackman, and he's very upset with Howard Lutnick. He's been hammering Howard Lutnick on Twitter. They're in a little fight. And Elon and Navarro are in a fight. Everybody inside of MAGA is fighting. He just said, I just figured out why Howard Lutnick is indifferent to the stock market and the economy crashing. He and Cantor, his company Cantor Fitzgerald, are long bonds. He profits when our economy implodes. It's a bad idea to pick a Secretary of Commerce whose firm is levered long fixed income. It's an irreconcilable conflict of interest. I looked at that. Cantor Fitzgerald makes a fortune off of not only fees, but they're heavily invested in treasury bonds. So it would make sense for Cantor Fitzgerald and a company who is only ever worried about their bottom line and only worried about returns to not mind if we're going to crash the stock market. It's a good thing for him. So wondering why Howard Lutnick has been following Trump around everywhere he goes, laughing at every joke, defending him blindly with every policy. It's because of this, I think. I would imagine Howard Lutnick has a deal with Trump like, hey, I'll kiss your ass. I'll go on Fox for you. I'll run cover for you. But here's what I need in return. It looks an awful lot like he's being paid through returns to be a Trump lapdog. But again, that's what happens when you put billionaires in your cabinet. You put people who do not give a single solitary fuck about the American public. They just care about making their own money. Go ahead, throw a bunch of those people in your cabinet. What's the worst that could happen? And you MAGA who are in the chat, it's crazy to me that you think that these people give a goddamn about you and that they won't lie right to your fucking face and tell you that they're doing it for you, because they absolutely will. Here's Mark K. I've actually tried to debate Mark K before. I was on his program for about 3 seconds before I got booted. Maybe 15 seconds. Mark K is an unbelievable coward, and only Newsmax would bring him on. But watch him simping for Trump and just saying like, hey guys, this is all perfect. This is all part of the plan. We don't know what the plan is. So us and Newsmax, we're just going to get together and we're going to guess what the plan is. Are we worried about that, MAGA, that nobody knows what the plan is? They're all just guessing, like literally. It's just a game of, I wonder what they're doing. We trust him.
It's like they're almost cheerleading for some sort of an economic recession or stock market crash.
I mean, again, clearly these are not negotiators. The big thing I saw was they were all complaining that President Donald Trump was casually playing.
Justin, whatever the fuck you want to say about Kamala Harris, she would not have filled her cabinet full of billionaires and taken economic advice from billionaires. We wouldn't be bombing in Syria right now. We would have much tougher negotiations with Israel and Russia right now. Whatever you want to say about that. Like, well, our other option is this just means you don't like the information that you're being presented with right now. And this is cope, and you should stop doing this. You should stop being like black and white on this. Fine, if you think Kamala was going to be worse, who gives a fuck? Criticize this then. If it was going to be worse, like you can't go back. It's not like if you criticize it. What do you think is going to happen if you criticize Trump? Like Kamala is going to take over. So just because you voted for him, you can't criticize him. And you have to play whataboutism anytime anybody disrespects him. How dare you disrespect our king?
Golf over the weekend. Well, when you're in the middle of a negotiation, you don't want people to see you stressed out. You don't want them thinking that you've made a mistake. So Donald Trump goes, here's the deal. It's Liberation Day. You're all getting reciprocal tariffs. I'm going to go hit the links. And now all of the other countries realize that Donald Trump is not losing sleep over this and that they are going to be losing a large portion of their GDP. So yes, whenever Donald Trump makes a move, whether it's good or bad for the economy, the other networks, the Democrats, the mainstream media or the legacy media, they are going to react negatively because they are trying their best to make Donald Trump one of the most popular presidents in the entire history of our country look bad and make their party one of the most unpopular in the history of this country look, I don't know, not as bad as they actually are.
And you know what? Is playing golf that bad when we saw our previous president laying on the beach every single weekend? At least this president is getting some exercise, right?
Falling off his bicycle.
Yeah.
Every single week, Joe Biden was laying on the beach. I don't know if you guys caught that. For 4 straight years, every weekend, Joe Biden was hanging out on the beach. In fact, I'm looking here, like from early in the Biden administration. You can look here. I tried to see if I could find Mark Kaye saying anything, but just looking at what they said about Joe Biden, like Joe Biden departs from his 6-day vacation in San Diego, California, to his 9-day vacation in Aruba. Kamala's in hiding. The country's on autopilot. Biden left for a week-long vacation. Biden at the beach. Like you guys, nobody ever shut up about this. Every time Biden spent 570 days, 40% of his entire presidency on vacation. We did all this. You guys did all of this before. I also don't think those numbers are. There's no way those numbers are correct. That 40% of his presidency was on vacation, unless they're counting like weekends when he went back to Delaware. I'm guessing they're counting every weekend that he went back to Delaware as a vacation, and not just like you can't go home for work. Interesting. I'm sure these people were definitely not criticizing Joe Biden like they just did right there. Hey, but Joe Biden went on vacation. My problem with Trump, by the way, is not that he was golfing. I don't care if Trump golfs on the weekends. My problem with Trump is that he was out there doing business deals. He was out there doing business deals with Saudis while he's supposed to be president and he's supposed to be divested from those investments. That was my main problem with what Trump did. Then my second problem isn't really with what Trump did, but my second problem is with what like all right-wing media did, where instead of talking about the fact that the markets were crashing, they told us that Trump won a bullshit club championship that apparently he played against like 4 people and gave themselves trophy. Have you guys seen the picture of Trump with the trophy? Let's see if I can find it here. He's like with Lindsey Graham. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out what this golf tournament was. For anybody that golfs here, you'll know that let's see if I can find it. You'll know that this isn't a real golf tournament. Lindsey Graham's not a member at Mar-a-Lago. How did Lindsey Graham have it? Here it is. What's going on here? This is apparently the tournament that he won, his club championship. You got Lindsey Graham. I forget, this guy's some investor. What's his name? Forgot what his name was. Somebody had him circled. So you have Trump, I can't remember what his name is, Lindsey Graham, Trey Gowdy. Trey Gowdy's outfit is marvelous. And what's his name? The Black Knight. I forget his name. Gary Player, a former professional golfer. You wouldn't hand out 3 trophies for a club championship here? I don't know what this is. And then Fox is like, yeah, he won a club championship. He didn't even win a club championship. I don't know what this is, but this is what he was doing instead, and this is what they reported instead of reporting on what was actually going on. The problem is Trump slapped a bunch of tariffs on us and then left and didn't tell anybody anything. I don't care that he golfs. I would prefer that he not be allowed to use so much money to go golfing, but I don't really care that much. I just don't like that the leader of our country, and any good leader, would never just destroy the stock market and then disappear. That's what I really have a problem with. And I have a problem with people who don't demand that he do a little bit better. There's no other president you would allow this to do. Not Bush, not Biden, not Obama. Nobody would have run cover for Biden like this. Nobody ever would have run cover for Biden like this. In fact, CNN, MSNBC, they were often critical if he didn't come out and speak out in a timely manner when things were going poorly. In fact, all the time, they're like, why is that his press secretary and not him? He just gets to play by a different set of rules. And it leaves turbulence behind him. It makes it so that our markets are worse than they need to be. It would be one thing if Trump rolled out these tariffs and he was like, look, here's my plan. I understand that the markets are going to crash. But for those of you who believe in my plan, here's the plan. I would encourage you to hold and not dump all your stock. Hold. If you believe in me, hold your stock. And that would have limited the amount of drop. If people just believed he had a plan. But nobody even thinks that he has a plan. And so you have this massive crash. You have massive panic. That's not good for the American people. Again, there's going to be people who die. There's going to be people who take their own lives because for some people, they make bad investments. They over leverage themselves. And then something like this that you don't expect to happen because it never happens. And only somebody as powerful as Donald Trump could make this happen. You may lose everything. And then people lose their lives. They lose their families. People lose fathers, mothers, children. That's my biggest problem with all of this. If he had a plan and I disagreed with the plan, I could at least be on board with the fact that, like, okay, well, he's telling us. But he's not even telling us the plan. He's not telling you guys the plan. So I don't know why you're defending it. How can you? He doesn't give you anything to defend it. I just wish he would make things a little easier on Americans so that we could actually have discussions and we didn't live in like this constant state of fear. Charles, thanks for the super chat there. Marion as well. I read that one from Push Pop. Let me check right here real quick. And Jackie said, hi, friend. Hi, Jackie. Hi, right back at you. Just this number here. Boom. See if I think Jen might have had some too. Nope. Got all this. All right. On to the next. I'm going to skip that for now. All right. I want to talk about these deportations. There was a ruling today. I saw somebody earlier saying that they were gutted by the Supreme Court ruling from this morning. I don't think that the Supreme Court, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying it is. The Supreme Court kind of refused to rule. What the Supreme Court, though, did say is that there needs to be protections for people who are deported, and they need to have time to fight against their deportation, submit habeas or apply habeas. And basically what they did is they admonished the Trump administration saying that these happen too quickly without due process. And there is at least some due process that you must allow a reasonable amount of time for. They didn't undo Trump's ability to do it. They basically said like they're not adjudicating that right now. So I don't know that it's necessarily a decision that says Trump can do whatever he wants. It's more that like this was the case before them and they're not ruling on a case that's not before them. I hope somebody brings that case. But here is a report we referenced yesterday from 60 Minutes. Let me just show you here.
Court were the only evidence the government presented in immigration court were these pictures of his tattoos. Crowns, which immigration authorities say can be a symbol of Tren de Aragua.
These are tattoos that not only have a plausible explanation because he is someone who worked in the beauty pageant industry, but also the crowns themselves were on top of the names of his parents. The most plausible explanation for that are that his mom and dad are his king and queen.
Could it be possible that there is something that perhaps the government knows that you don't?
I don't think that that is possible, but if it was possible that they had some information, they should follow the Constitution, present that information, give us the ability to reply to it.
A Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman said on social media that its intelligence assessments go well beyond just gang affiliate tattoos. She said Andri's own social media indicates he is a member of Tren de Aragua. We went back a decade and could only find photos like these.
We now know that at least 75% of the men sent to the El Salvador mega prison had no criminal records. The only evidence that Trump's government and ICE have presented against this man, Andres, were the pictures of his mom and dad tattoos. You can. It's fair for Republicans to say maybe we don't have all the evidence. That's a fair thing to say. Maybe we don't. But I do think we should know what the evidence is before we deport somebody. I don't think that the government should be allowed to secretly hide evidence for a deportation. If you have the evidence to deport somebody, present that evidence. But 75% of the people that have been deported to El Salvador, we have no evidence that they were in a gang. Whatever that number might be, maybe all 75% of them weren't in a gang. Maybe all 75% of them were in a gang. But when you see stories like this, and Jesse Waters is mad that we're talking about this same guy again. But when you see stories like this, and there's no restitution, and there's no explanation, how is it that we're supposed to trust the federal government? And what do we do when it's a citizen? Their response when the judge has said you need to return these people is they say, sorry, they're in El Salvador. We have no jurisdiction there. We can't go to El Salvador and just kidnap people. Can't do it. Sorry. The real question is what's to stop them from doing this to just anybody they dislike. And I think that's really like what we're seeing. That's why people are elevated. That's why people are more afraid, is because they're just testing the limits over and over and over again. I was thinking about the colleges and how they're taking people and they're deporting them from this country if they are critical of Israel. And I thought, like, how could that be applied to somebody who's here as a student? And are they doing things that could be applied to a student here? And I think they are. If you are a state-run school, for example, you no longer have the Department of Education there to say you cannot discriminate. So if you're a state-run school in Alabama, you now can discriminate, and there will be no federal oversight. So all you have to really do is try and write laws in your own state that allow you to discriminate. So if you want to write a law that says you can't be critical of Israel and come to our state school, they're going to be able to do that. And Republicans might say, well, states' rights, brother. Fine. But this is what we were getting at earlier. You don't recognize when the government is taking away your rights. What you're recognizing is the ability that you, through staying quiet, has given your government to take away your rights. Your freedom of speech can be limited by these organizations. And it's interesting to me that the same people who were up in arms about private businesses, Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, you guys were up in arms about private businesses limiting your speech. But it doesn't bother you when the government limits speech of people that don't speak like you. And there's no ability to, there's no recognition. The vast difference between a private corporation telling you we have advertisers here and we don't want that content or our advertisers will leave, and the federal government saying we don't like that because we think something different than you, so you can't say that. It's exactly what they're doing. They're absolutely stripping rights. And if a state can say that you criticizing Israel is a danger to the other students in that school, then what's to stop them from saying you speaking that in public is a danger? You speaking that on Twitter is danger. You speaking that on a live stream is danger. If they can already cross that bridge where now your speech can be limited by the federal government based on things they don't like, then what's to stop them? And do you really trust some of these people? We're not talking about Donald Trump. Remember, We're talking about states' rights right now. We are not talking Donald Trump. And whatever state you live in right now, I want you to imagine you're living in a different one. And I want you to pick a state where you don't know a goddamn thing about anybody in their government, any of them. And I want you to think about if you moved to another state and you have opinions on whatever it might be, and the legislature has a different opinion than you, do you like the idea that they can say that your speech is violence and you be locked up, or you can't go to school, or your kids can't go to public school? Do you like that idea? Because that's what we're doing here. This has consequences past what you think. I understand that most Republicans don't like this man. One, because he's probably an immigrant. Two, he's gay. And three, he's making your president look like he's just deporting people for the fuck of it. And so I understand, like, internally right now, you don't feel any rage towards your president or Tom Homan. You're actually upset at him and you're upset at me. And I understand that. I've been where you're at. I understand it. But just know that at some point, like, you will break with Republicans. And if you live in a state like Oklahoma or Mississippi or Arkansas or Alabama, and you have a bunch of deeply conservative Christian nationalists in your state legislature, they are licking their chops right now. They are thrilled about this because they've figured out, holy shit, this Donald Trump guy lets us do Christian nationalism. He's paving the way for us to do Christian nationalism. And I don't think most of you want Christian nationalism. I understand you want trans people to be gone. I understand you don't like that there's gay people on your television. I understand that you don't like immigrants. Oh, I like legal immigration. Yeah. Illegal immigrants. Fine. I understand all that. But I bet you don't like Christian nationalism. And while you sit there and watch them strip the rights of everybody else, wait till you get in trouble for jacking off. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. Wait for that one. Wait until you get caught having sex before you get married. And they're like, sorry, that's against God's law, my friend. You're going to prison. What are you guys all going to do at the RNC convention when there's no more access to Grindr? What are you going to do, take your wives? You start hanging out with your wives? What's the point of even going to the RNC if you're not going to get your dick sucked in a Flying J truck stop? Why would you even go anymore? It's not, all your fun is going to be taken away. I don't think I'm saying, like, think past. Just think past what's happening right now that doesn't affect you and think about when it could affect you. And then say, like, do I really want my state government to have this level of control over my life? Do I want that? Maybe they will, maybe they won't, guys. Like, if you're about, hey, we're rage farming. Yeah, I am rage farming. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I want you to think about what it's like to be an American citizen getting their rights taken away. And the only way for me to help you understand what it's like to get your rights taken away is talk about places where your rights could be taken away. And you're plugging your ears and you're closing your eyes like, they would never do that to me. I come from a religion that got ran out of the country. We had to go from the East Coast to Utah and Arizona because of our religious beliefs. And by the way, they were gross. They were gross religious beliefs. I don't really blame anybody for not wanting them around. But that's happened in this country multiple times. You don't think that we've stripped away people's religious beliefs and chose like one religion to choose the laws? We've done that many times. And it can only be done on a state and local level. And Trump is paving the way for that. Why do you think all the Christian nationalists, all the people who wrote Project 2025, why do you think they wanted states' rights so bad? Yeah, sure, it was about abortion. Yeah, that's one of the things. Sure. But what else is it about? Apparently, it's about putting the Bible in school. Apparently, it's about dragging the Bible into school. And if you're going to put the Bible in school, then you might want to follow the rules from the Bible. So suddenly you're in high school and you're a gay teenager and you're holding hands with your partner, and suddenly that's a problem. Suddenly you can't do that at school anymore. Now you're suspended. Now you're expelled, or at the very least you have to go back in the closet. And why can't we just have a Bible class? Why can't one of your credits be Bible? I had 7 classes in I think in junior high. I think we had like 7 classes a day or some shit like that. Is that what it was? Anyways, there was 7 classes, and I had 1 religious class. I wasn't forced to go to it, but in Utah, goddamn, they might make that mandatory now. That you have 1 class of religion every single day. You want to do that? What would we throw out for your kids? Would you throw out, you know what they'll probably throw out? They'll throw out music, throw out theater. They may throw out like PE, art, all those things that don't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you can do art or if you can play beautiful music. All that matters is that you love Jesus. And Jesus is more important than art or theater or PE. Just think about the implications of what happens when you allow this stuff. That's all I'm asking you for. I'm not telling you that you have to change your bigotry. We know you're not going to change your bigotry. But just try and think for like 2 seconds what might happen if it happened to you. Jamar says mid-stroke, and Jay says we won't be able to jack off anymore. My bad, Jamar. Go ahead and finish, my friend. Sorry about that. Here's what Trump had to say about El Salvador. Watch this. Now, remember, they're not going to return people from El Salvador. And the reason that we like El Salvador for Trump is that El Salvador is incredibly cruel to people and incredibly cheap. And so it's a lot cheaper for us in the long term to house people. Like if you're going to house somebody long term, it's going to be cheaper in El Salvador. So Trump likes sending people to El Salvador, but not citizens, right? We would never send American citizens there. And remember, in America, the one thing we never do, we never send an innocent person to prison. That doesn't happen. We get it right 100% of the time. So we would never send like an innocent person who's an American citizen, a what American citizen. We would never send a good what to El Salvador, would we?
Who got to El Salvador? The president there said he would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population. Is that one of the ideas you're going to be discussing?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us, I'm all for it. But I'd only do according to the law. But I have suggested that, why should it stop just at people that cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born. And if we have somebody that bops an old woman over the head, if we have somebody that is in jail 20 times and goes back.
That's kind of an old-fashioned term. You don't hear that. Finally, he did an old-fashioned term, and he didn't cover it. If you just bop an old woman over the head, you're going to El Salvador? What if that old woman doesn't know who hit you? What if you just look like somebody else and there's surveillance footage and you get caught and it wasn't you, it was just somebody who looked like you? Then what happens? You're just stuck in El Salvador?
And shoots people all over the place and then has a bad judge or a bad prosecutor that do nothing about him. All they worry about is politics. They don't worry about that. I think if we could get El Salvador or somebody to take them, I'd be very happy with it. But I have to see what the law says. Okay, what else?
There's no problem with that. No problem with deporting American citizens to El Salvador. I bet that's what the founding fathers were advocating for, right? You guys, we're loving this police state. Shannon, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you. Let me add these up real quick. I think I missed a couple. Oh, maybe I didn't. There we go. Check that out. We are, boom, right on the number. A third of the way there. Thank you guys so much for the donations. And just a reminder, if you can help out with the show, hit our daily goal so that we can keep the lights on, keep this thing running. That'd be great. About a third of the way done with it. Well, I guess we're halfway done with the show. Shit, we're flying. Might have to stay late today. All right. Here is, I'm trying to remember if there's a video or if I need to read this. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, that's it. So Trump's attorneys were in court. They're arguing this. So this is from Yoni Applebaum. He says, new in a court filing this evening, the Trump administration said that it had mistakenly deported a Maryland father, if you guys have heard this story, to a notorious Salvadoran prison due to an administrative error. Whoops. And this is what they keep calling like father of the year. He had a parking ticket. He was not a member of a gang. They had no evidence that he was a member of a gang, but it was administrative error. But in Monday's court filing, attorneys for the government admitted that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported accidentally. Although ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, they were told that he was not allowed to be removed because we caught this early. Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error. I don't think it's an administrative error because I saw Tom Homan say we don't give a fuck. Tom Homan is on TV saying, I will defy these court orders. This is not administrative error. This is a directive from the top that we don't listen to judges here. Now, they've been telling you Republicans that these are rogue judges that are just playing politics. This isn't a rogue judge. This is you guys deporting somebody that it was not allowed to be, shouldn't have been deported. You knew it was happening. You deported it anyway because Tom Homan says, don't listen to them. Do whatever the fuck you want. You guys keep saying, like, why are you fear-mongering? Because of this. We fear-mongered then, too, and you're like, you guys are fear-mongering. And then it happened, and you're like, you guys are fear-mongering. No matter what, until it's you, you're going to just assume it's fear-mongering. That's my problem with you guys. There's not a level. There's no level where you're going to be like, oh, fuck, this is bad. Just the whole way down until it's you or like your friend, it's going to be fear-mongering. And then when it's you know what's going to be crazy when it's you? Is that you're going to tell your story, you're going to put it up on social media, and you're going to put up the story like, you know what? I was one of those people who didn't believe this could happen to me, and then it happened to me. And now I know that it could happen to me. And everybody's going to be like, oh, stop fear-mongering, dude. You hate America. We've got to get rid of immigrants. He shouldn't have been, he should know. We'll fix it. Oh, dude, it's one mistake. Why are you focused on this one mistake? Because, dude, someone lost their dad. Their dad's in a prison in another country. That's why. That's why it's a big fucking deal. It should be a big fucking deal. If our government fucks up and throws somebody in prison that shouldn't be there, we shouldn't have so many Republicans being like, oh, shouldn't have been standing there, I guess. Should have seen it coming. Oh, I shouldn't have had a speeding ticket, huh? They say, although ICE was aware of the protection from removal to El Salvador, Garcia was there because of administrative error. The government told the court. Trump lawyers said the court has no ability to bring him back now that Abrego Garcia is in Salvador in custody. They didn't negotiate a way. We're just at the, like, whatever El Salvador said, we can't bring him back. Why? Well, they said we couldn't. You didn't negotiate? You can't negotiate that? You think if you go to El Salvador and you're like, hey, we need this one back, they're going to be like, no, you're paying El Salvador a bunch of money. They love this. This is great for them. They're lying. They're lying. What the fuck are we talking about? There's no way to bring this guy. Oh, sorry. Of course you can bring him back. You're telling us now that ICE can deport people who did not commit a crime? And then just, oh, fuck, I don't know. Sorry, we're stuck. That's the country we live in now. And you guys are like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's not me. It's just an immigrant. Developers, thank you for the super chat. Jody as well. And 6 cents. Amelia, appreciate you guys. Here's the Fourth Circuit. I think this is Fourth Circuit upholds the judge's order to bring him back. This was on, what day was this? This was filed April 7th, so that was yesterday. So the court said that you have, I think it was 48 hours. Is that right? By midnight. Do we know if we have him back? Was it midnight yesterday or midnight today? I don't know. I don't know if SCOTUS. I think SCOTUS might have been ruling on this today too. Actually, I might have. Now that we say that, I think I might have seen a news report. Let's look at where we're at. I think this might have actually changed since we were live. I think I got a notice on my phone a second ago. Do we have one? Does anybody have an update on him? SCOTUS paused it to take up the case, so they're pausing that he has to go. Jesus Christ. What the fuck was their reason for that? That's what I thought I saw. I thought I saw they paused it. All right. Cool. That's crazy. Everybody's so afraid of Donald Trump. It's wild. We can't even say that we have to return people who were deported on accident. Christians are the most oppressed people the world has ever known. That's Sean McDonald there. Hey, Sean, shut the fuck up forever. Honestly, forever. Shut the fuck up forever. You are not oppressed. You have been the oppressors as long as you've been alive. You're not oppressed. You're a bitch. That's what it really is. And Christians who think they're oppressed are just bitches. Stop being a whiny little bitch and get over it. You are not oppressed. Christians are oppressed? Shut the fuck up. You guys, they won't even let us dictate who gets married anymore. And we can't even force you to say Merry Christmas. People put an X instead of Christ. Do you know how mad that makes us when it's an X instead of Christ? Shut the fuck up forever. Dude, that's embarrassing. Thanks for sending me that, Jen. Thank you. Jen sent that to me. I missed that one. I'm so impressed. The whole goddamn administration is wearing like replica-sized crosses around their necks every day. And they're praying over Donald Trump. And they're saying things like, God has a plan. You must trust Trump. God put Trump in this place, and that's why he can do shitty things. And you're like, oh, we're being so oppressed. Everything is so bad for us. Look at all these people who aren't Christians just existing, and we're not allowed to take their land, and we're not allowed to make laws that dictate their lives. We're so oppressed. You baby back bitch. That's one of the dumbest fucking things anybody has ever commented in here. Christians are so oppressed. Shut up. Nobody cares. The Christians in the I guarantee Republicans in the chat that are here, let's be honest. If you're a Christian Republican in the chat, you're a little embarrassed that he just said Christians are the most oppressed people in the world, right? You are. You're not on his side. You're not claiming him. I know. Let's all be on the same team for a second. Let's bring the chat together. Republicans in the chat, you're not with that, right? We all know that was embarrassing, right? All right. Thank you. All right. Did somebody say I had to change the subject? It's my fucking show, dude. You cornered yourself and now you have to change the subject. No, are you talking about because of the Supreme Court? We don't have a ruling from the Supreme Court. We'll see what the Supreme Court says. I think our Supreme Court's I think it's a joke that exists. I think it's a joke that we have to wait for the Supreme Court to rule on whether or not we can bring somebody back. So what the Supreme Court rules on, by the way, is they rule on, is it okay for Donald Trump to deport somebody? That's what they're ruling on. Is it okay to deport somebody without committing a crime? And they're saying we need a ruling on that. I think it's silly that we even have to have this discussion. And we wouldn't have to have this discussion if it weren't for Donald Trump. Any other administration would be like, fuck, and they would just bring him back. They wouldn't take it to court. Imagine, like, keep in mind, your party is fighting to be able to keep somebody in El Salvador that is not there because of a crime they committed. They fucked up, and the Republicans are like, well, we should be able to fuck up. We should just be able to throw people in prison. That's your position right now. That's why we have a Supreme Court case. That's why we're hearing this argument. Because any other administration ever would have been like, our bad, sorry, we fucked up. We're bringing them back now. They'd probably get like a payoff. They'd have a sit down in the White House, and the White House would apologize to them, and Republicans, it would lead every segment. Like, can you believe the Biden administration? I thought this was the party of empathy. I thought these people were nice. I thought they cared about people. I thought they loved immigrants. No, your party's like, we should be able to do this, so we're going to fight it. This guy's not back because you're fighting it, not because SCOTUS is like, no, they were right. SCOTUS is saying, good Lord, we have to hear this conversation? And they might rule for you. They might. I don't know. I don't trust SCOTUS. But I'm glad I don't have that position. I'm glad that I'm not the person defending that position. You know how morally... Jesus would definitely be here. Jesus would be like, yeah, fuck him. Throw him in there. He shouldn't have been there. That's what Jesus always said. If you haven't committed a crime, but you look like somebody that some people think would... you look like somebody that other people think looks like somebody who would have committed a crime, you should be thrown in jail. I think that's in John 4:5, I think. Somebody check that, but I think that's John 4:5. He who hath looked like a criminal must be sent to prison. I think John 4:5, that's what that is. That's it. I'm not mad that we had to, or I didn't deflect from that. That's a terrible position. I'd like to stay on this position all day. Tonight in our TikTok debates, I think maybe I will just force people to answer that question all night long. Thank you for bringing that up. That's actually very useful. Did I add this? I did not. Let's see if I add. Let's do that. All right. I think that's what I had on deportations. Let's jump just for the last hour of the show. We're going to talk about tariffs, get into the meat of it. Here's just some advice. I just want to give you guys some advice because Patrick Bet David decided to give some unsolicited advice. I would advise every single human being on earth not to take advice from Patrick Bet-David unless you're a person who intends on scamming people. Patrick Bet-David is a scammer, and Patrick Bet-David saw the markets crash, and he sat here on his waterfront property that he earned through hard work, dedication, and running a scam multi-level marketing company that pretends that they sell insurance, but really they just like get people into their MLM, and most of them don't make, like 90% of them don't make money, 10% do. And the money that the 90% doesn't make goes up to the 10%. It's a really shitty thing. Patrick Bet-David, as the markets are crashing, is going to give you some sage life advice here. And I'm only showing this because I want to point out like how brain dead, mush brain, like overconfident these guys are. This is a 5-minute video, and he's not going to say anything specific at all. He's just going to tell you stories. And that's what Patrick Bet-David always does. Patrick Bet-David actually thinks like, I'm a genius. And so when he hears something, he always makes an analogy. You'll never see him answer a question without an analogy. He's not going to bring data. He's just going to tell you, and he's going to give you an analogy. And he's going to create this scenario where one side is absolutely right and one side is obviously wrong. And his side will be the one that's obviously right, and yours will be the one that's obviously wrong. And it's not a direct analogy, and it doesn't make any sense. But that's how he wins debates, because he can't go in depth on any of this. But here's Patrick Bet-David telling you, chill, guys, chill. I'm here as a multi-millionaire who could deal with a year-long stock market crash and be absolutely fine. But those of you who are panicking right now because you've just lost money, don't worry. Just be like me. Just be rich. Be richer.
And tomorrow, Monday, is going to be Black Monday. Like, market's going to drop. It's going to be nasty, and it may. So I got some unsolicited advice.
It did.
I want to share with you.
Okay.
Before we kick off our week. A couple things. When COVID happened, I was in LA getting ready for a board meeting. I land. We get to Beverly Hills Hilton. Wife is there. Kids are there. We thought we may as well go to Universal Studios for, having a good time with the family. All of a sudden, that's the day where Rudy Gobert gets COVID too, Donovan Mitchell, Disney closed down, Universal closed down, NHL shut down. We're in LA. We're like, what the hell is going on? We got on a plane. I said, babe, we can't stay. We got to go back. Everybody canceled the board meeting. We flew back to Dallas, dropped our family, came back to the office, was at the office till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the one thing I studied was the following. My entire business insurance is face-to-face. I have to sit.
He's not in insurance. Now, this is a thing that he lies about all the time. He makes very little money for insurance. He makes most of his money off of fees that people pay to be part of his MLM. So now what he's about to say, but he says insurance because he never wants to tell you that what he's really in is an MLM. And he's saying, like, we need to be face-to-face. Why do you think it's more important in an MLM to be face-to-face? Same reason nobody sells timeshares over the phone, because you need to pressure them. You need to make them uncomfortable. You need to make them make a decision now. You need to have urgency. There needs to be no exit. They can't be like, oh, my kid's crying, I got to go. No, you're sitting here right in front of me. The reason that the reason that companies like his revolve around face-to-face is because it's a scam. Raise your hand if you do your insurance contracts face-to-face. I didn't do life insurance face-to-face. I don't do auto insurance face-to-face. I haven't done health insurance face-to-face. All of that stuff is easily done online with tools that find me the best price, and I can do all that online. Or I've had people call me. I've never once done any of those face-to-face. So when he tells you insurance means that you have to be face-to-face, he's just really saying his scam requires you. But again, this is so that you can learn a lesson. And he's always the hero in his own lessons.
In front of you to sell you. So imagine you got 15, 20,000 insurance agents nationwide. None of us know how to sell on Zoom. We've never done that before, right? So it was a big disruption to our business. Every one of my guys was frightened of what's about to happen. I stayed there. First thing I looked at was the following. In the history of America, I looked at every pandemic that took place. Top 10. Worst pandemic on how the market performed. And it shows, the collapse and all this other stuff, nasty. Out of 10 pandemics that we've had, 9 of them, whatever the drop was that was drastic, Within 6 months, it recovers and goes above and beyond. The only one that it didn't recover for 18 months was the AIDS pandemic that we had. So what's the point here? When the market tanked and it went to like 18,000 down.
So I don't know what he's talking about. As far as I know, like we've had 3 pandemics since 1900. When was the stock market created? What year was it created? 1792. When did we start having stock? Yeah, so I guess it's later than that. Yeah, I don't know. Did we have 7 pandemics in the 1800s that I don't know about?
I don't know what it was, but some number like that. One of my good friends was so afraid of where the market was going to be going that he took 100% of his money out of his investments. We're talking 10 million goes down to 5 million. He takes the whole thing out. 3 months after he takes the whole thing out, everything goes back to normal price that it was before and beyond. But he lost $5 million. So what's the moral of the story? Whether tomorrow's going to be black, if it's...
That was the dumbest fucking story. Can we just recap that story? Let me tell you this story. I went to LA and we were going to go to Universal Studios, and then Universal Studios closed down. So then I went to a board meeting, and all my guys were worried about how they were going to sell this product. And then one of my guys sold his stock. So here's the moral of the story.
Black Monday tomorrow, I'm losing tens of millions of dollars tomorrow, and purely investment-wise. But if it is, pump the brakes, not your financial advisor, seek counsel. I got to put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah, no shit.
Pump the brakes. Don't make an emotional decision. If you're a passive investor, not an active one. Active is somebody that watches it 24/7 and is managing everything that's going on.
Only somebody with Patrick Bet-David's level of confidence and low IQ would make this video and then post it. Like, what was the link there? What was the link through that whole story? Let me tell you a story. COVID crash. All my guys were worried. We'd only sold insurance face to face, and we sold it. So guys were worried. And one guy sold his stock. All right. So if you have a lot of money, just is the story here that if you have a lot of money, don't sell your stock because the market will go back up? Is that the story? Actually, by the way, you know who did really well? A lot of times, people that at the beginning, like as they saw the market crashing, they sold, and then when it hit bottom, they bought and it went back up. So it's not even like a good analogy here. It's not even a good story or analogy. If this guy sold his stock that night, the market crashed for weeks after COVID. For weeks. It sounds like he sold out early to me.
But if you're passive, 401k, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, stuff like that you have, that all of them, oh my God, Bitcoin went to this, Ethereum went to this, look at the Tesla, look at Max 7, look at what are we going to do? Just pump the brakes. This tariff situation is going to come about, and it's going to go. You have to know one thing.
What?
That the president knows, and every CEO of every job knows, if the market goes into shits, guess what?
What?
The other party's taking over midterms. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying to you. So
yeah, it was unclear. It was very... That's good. I'm doing Patrick Bet-David. I just want to remind you guys, the guy has nothing to say. He's famous because you don't even know why he's famous, by the way. If you're a Republican and you watch him, how'd you find him? How did he get famous? Do you know? How come he came out of nowhere and he has this massive media company? What happened? How did he get famous? Anybody know? He went around after he made all this money scamming people. He decided he wanted to be an entertainer. And so he started Valuetainment. And then he paid people hundreds of thousands of dollars because he had so much money to come, and he interviewed them, and he pretended like they were friends. He had Kobe Bryant. He had Tom Brady. I think he had Bill Belichick. He had Tony Romo. He had all these famous people that he paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in speaking fees. And then they took those speeches and they just pumped them out in clips. Clip after clip after clip, pumped them out. And he bought his position. And now he's a guy that sits there and informs MAGA every single day. He's one of the least informed people on the right. Right? Sam Cedar took them 5-on-1, and it was embarrassing, like embarrassingly bad for them. I don't know if they realized it was there. If you go read like the comment section in those videos, it is horrific. They took an absolute beating. They didn't know how Medicare was funded. They didn't know how Social Security is funded. They didn't seem to understand how taxes work. It was embarrassing. Christie said any politician who protects their political career over their constituents needs to go. If they all stood for their constituents, Trump wouldn't have any power. Nobody would have any power. That's the point. I don't know why we're so comfortable handing over power to one person. Jen. I think Jen's here. There we are. Jen's here.
Yeah, I'm here. Having to mute the mic so I don't hear you in the background. All right, so I'll send you my math. So top left-hand corner, we got about 50 minutes or so left to wrap up the remaining balance of the gift goal. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out the remaining balance. This is our job as much as you guys hate it. And we're crowdfunding, and that's how we do this. So if you guys could help knock that out. If you haven't subscribed to us yet on Twitch, you can do so with your Amazon Prime sub. Also, please subscribe so you can get follow-ups to when we go live next. When we have RTP in the wild, we're supposed to have one of those later tonight, so you can get notifications when those happen. Please check out our link tree. We are on most social media platforms, so you can follow us other places if you'd like. You can also check out our merch that we have over there. And if you guys want to debate, there's a lot to do in the comments in both. The Venmo is the same as my Discord username. That's where just DM me on Discord and I can bring you in and talk to Jay. You don't have to cry in the comments about how he's wrong. I've got it. The same dummies that see this, they see this every day. We live in a constitutional republic, not a democracy. Bro, a democracy and it's like saying a Toyota isn't a vehicle.
It's not.
Constitutional republic.
It's a Japanese
is a
sex
type
wagon.
of democracy.
It's a Japanese sex wagon. Get it right.
I swear to God, that's one of the. It's so fucking dumb. You guys sound so stupid when you say shit like that. Anyways, what do you call the most famous cow of all time?
I don't know.
Legendary.
Thank you. Speaking of Legend actually sent me a picture from earlier today about the attack from Trump on the Houthis. Let me expand this. I don't want to show any. Do this real quick. I just want to show this tweet. So to be clear, this is a photo of Eid al-Fitr. I don't know how that festival of breaking the fast. It's the first of two main festivals in Islam, the other being Eid al-Adha. Mistakes happen when you have unqualified people in the highest offices with no experience or understanding of their responsibilities, making life and death decisions. So I'll just show. I guess we'll show it. This is the celebration. This is what it looks like. Let me move this over here, and I'll just. I think we can play that video. Hopefully, we can play that video. If not, sorry. Maybe it'll get us in trouble. I think we can show it though. Yeah. All right. So you've seen. Actually, here's a good post for it. You can see here. This is the circle. This is them doing the ceremony. This is them doing the ceremony. This is them doing the ceremony. They all look the same. And then here's the video that Trump tweeted out that said "God." I don't remember, something like "got him." And they're going to tell us that this is protecting Americans. Cool. I did not know that. I didn't know that's what it was. That's fucking embarrassing and devastating. Again, but what do you expect when the guy's stated goal, our Secretary of Defense's stated goal, is to kill all Muslims? I'm happy for any of you Republicans to defend that. Be great. Thanks, LP. LP, you're not smart enough to make statements like that. None of you guys are influential enough to say "Thank you, liberals. You're making our job easier." You don't have a job. You're bootlickers. You're followers. You do as you're told. You have no idea if you would have no idea if what I say and do helps your cause or hurts your cause. because you just show up every day and take orders and lick boots. That's your job. And I get it. Your job is to be here and be hysterical and have fake bravado and never come up here and discuss any of these things. Never have a rational discussion with somebody. Your job as foot soldiers in the MAGA movement, the dumbest of them all, your job is to just show up and say everything's great, nothing is bad, liberals suck. Cool. If our game isn't working, how did Donald Trump win Wisconsin 2 months ago, and then the Supreme Court race swung like 9 points, or what was won by I think 9 points? How'd that happen? If what we're saying is making your jobs easier and putting more Republicans in power, then why isn't that happening? Why did plus 30 districts in Florida go to like plus 8? How come every special election that's happened keeps going to Democrats in any contested election? If it's even close, if it's even remotely purple, how come it keeps going to Dems? Maybe our messaging is working, but you keep showing up and being dumb every day and being the good little foot soldiers. And we'll see. We'll talk about it in the midterms. I hope you guys come back. You'll be like, yeah, well, wait till the presidential election. I mentioned this earlier. Excuse me, let me get to Maria Bartiromo because this was hysterical. Just listen to Maria Bartiromo absolutely lose her fucking shit. This is from Betty Johnson. Rates are plummeting, oil prices are plummeting. Listen to Maria Bartiromo. She's just like, guys, I know everything sucks right now, but Donald Trump is going to do it anyways, so we have to support him.
That's what we've been pointing out this morning, and the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting. Deregulation is happening.
Is that what drill baby drill meant? When Trump said he was going to lower oil prices by drilling more oil, was he just teasing? Did he actually mean crashing the economy? By the way, these arguments don't make sense if what you guys all say is going to happen. You've got to pick an argument here. Because if your argument is this is a temporary drop, a reaction to tariffs, which we'll see. If Trump leaves the tariffs in place, we're in for a long recession. If they stay in place. If Trump convinces other countries to come to the negotiating table and he drops the tariffs, then this will all correct. That's a hell of a gamble. What if they don't? And that's the part that all of us have an issue with. And I hope that Republicans understand this. I understand that if Trump gets his way and all of these countries decide, fuck it, we'll just let America be in charge of global trade, that all of this will be fixed. I understand that all of these corrections will happen. And it largely will help America. I get that. But if they don't, we're fucked. So we have to hope, it doesn't even rely on Trump. And this is the beauty of how Trump does everything. Trump says, I'm going to bully you to do what I want. And if you don't do what I want you to do, sorry, I'm just going to double down on it. That's the scary part of having Trump at the helm here, because we're listening to other world leaders, and you can say they're coming to the negotiating table because Trump said in an interview, he's like, yeah, they're all calling me. But I've seen the leaders from other countries. I've seen China. China slapped us back with retaliatory tariffs. China loves this shit. This is fucking great for China. I didn't plan on doing this. Let's see if I can find it. China is not only is China playing tough with Trump, China is getting Americans to soften their view on China. Let's see if I can find some of these videos. China is in all-out information warfare right now. Is this the one? Yeah, let me just show you some clips here. This is from China, from their CCTV 13. This is one of the biggest influencers in the world. This is Speed. Do you guys know who Speed is? I think it's like I see. What is it? What is it? Just Speed? I don't remember what his tag is, but one of the biggest streamers in the world. And he's over in China right now. And by the way, he's one of those few influencers that wasn't in with Trump. And he's over here in China. And you just watch this video and you tell me, would you rather take everything else aside? Just imagine you could transport your family, your friends to any of these scenarios. Would you rather live in China or America after seeing this video? Is it I show speed? Yeah, there we go.
甲亢哥来中国了。这位美国 YouTube 坐拥3700万粉丝的顶流主播，近日开启了中国行。甲亢哥本名小达伦·沃特金斯，由于他直播时情绪亢奋、表情丰富、肢体语言疯狂，被中国网友戏称为“甲亢哥”。2022年，他开始全球边走边播，前往世界各地，已经直播了大约25个国家，在游玩中感受地域文化。
Let's see if we can get some. Let's see if I can find something. I haven't seen this one. Let's see if I can find. Let's just do this. I'll go. BYD speed. Yeah, here it is.
We're sinking, right?
Here's speed right now. This is an electric. This is a BYD vehicle in China.
We're sinking. We're sinking. We're sinking, right? Oh my God! Oh my God, are we sinking? Oh my God, we're sinking! Oh, wait. Oh God, we're sinking. Oh God, we're sinking. Oh God, we're sinking. Wait, we're sinking. Oh God. Wait, deadass.
Maybe we are too heavy.
Wait, hold on, wait, deadass. Wait, deadass, we're sinking. Wait, deadass, what is going on?
Just open the pop just to make sure we can get out.
No, I'm fucking scared, bro. See, bro, I knew this wasn't a good idea, bro. I knew this wasn't a good idea, bro. No, flow, let's go.
How about this? Here he is in China again. While everything here, we're talking about how we are behind China and how we have to force companies here for innovation, and we're gonna have to have some tough times for innovation. Here's our biggest streamer.
Oh, damn.
Look at this phone.
Let me show you how to fold it.
You can fold it?
Yeah, like this one. So,
yo, what the hell? You sure this is it?
Yeah.
Best camera on any phone?
Yeah.
No, they did not sync eventually.
How much it costs? In USD?
20,000 Chinese yuan.
No, USD.
USD.
So meanwhile, China's over there. They're ahead of us technologically. They're beating our ass technologically, and they're going around to all these USAID contracts that we dropped, and they're going around to all these countries who historically might have traded with the United States, but now they have tariffs, and China's going, and they're like, hey, don't worry, like we're innovative. Who do you think can ramp up production quicker, us or China? China. They're way ahead of us. So, if we're talking about if they don't have an industry, if there's an industry that doesn't exist in China that exists here and they can replicate it, they can replicate it more quickly than we can. It will get done more quickly than it will get done here. So China is loving this right now. Nobody is benefiting for this more than China. China also has enough economic power to sustain a drop like we do. China can take some hits in the market for 5 or 6 months. They can withstand that, but they are more prepared to deal with this than we are. This is such a miscalculation by this administration. We're already losing to China, and this trade war will accelerate that. And for what reason? Why not just fix the relationship with China? You guys have been so terrified of words like socialism and specifically now globalism. Fuck the globalists. Why do you care? Why do you care where your phone comes from? Why do you care where your clothes come from? Honestly, why do you care? We 8% of our economy is manufacturing. So even if somehow we could double that, that's 16%. This makes no fucking sense. It's just a bunch of people who want to, like Donald Trump, who is unaware of the fact that we're way behind and that coal and gas are not the future. Nobody wants coal and gas. Do you like going to the gas station? If you had an option to wake up every day with your car that had a full tank of gas or having to go to the gas station every once in a while, what would you choose? You would choose a car with a full tank of gas every day. That's what having an electric vehicle is like. If you had to choose whether or not to use a gas pump or use an electric charger, what would you choose? If you can do it in 5 minutes like BYD is saying they can do, What would you choose? You would choose electric every goddamn time. Everything they're doing is light years ahead of us. I don't like driving. You know what I would fucking love is if we had high-speed transportation, public transportation. I would love that. I used to commute back and forth to Las Vegas, and I remember I was really close to buying a Tesla because Elon Musk was like, hey, within like 2 years, it's going to be automated drivers everywhere. And I was thinking, like, how cool would it be as I'm commuting back and forth to Vegas if I could just have my car drive? Because it's like 4.5 hours. So for me, or it's a 45-minute flight, but I always had luggage. And so I had to get to the airport an hour and a half early, or I had to sit in the airport, paid way too much money for food, sit in a packed airplane where somebody's going to fart, and then they're going to turn on the air, and then it's going to circulate through the whole goddamn place. And then I got to get to Vegas, and it's like a 25-mile walk to get to your luggage in Vegas. If you've ever been to the Vegas airport, I always flew American. And then I got to go, if I want to rent a car, it's off-site. So I'd have to go like, you have to go and you have to get on this monorail thing, and then you have to get on a bus, and then the bus takes you to your car rental place, and then that's a fucking nightmare, and then it's not really close to anything, and it's off the strip, so you land right next to the strip, then you go from the strip, then you have to get on the freeway there, which are always packed in Vegas. So I'm just like, this would be amazing, but we don't invest in that. And China recognizes that. Like, China recognizes that the investing in infrastructure makes people happier. It makes people more productive. It's cleaner energy. It is the future. China is so far ahead of us. And now what we're doing is, rather than just going to China and being like, hey, why don't we just normalize trade here? Why don't we stop being enemies with each other and let's have a good relationship? No. Instead, Trump's going to say, like, oh, I'm going to force China's hand. China. Then they'll do it. And they don't live in the same country that we do, where we're terrified of, it's called the CCP. It's the Chinese Communist Party. And we're afraid of China. And communism means that you're going to murder a bunch of people, because they understand that, like, the economic theory isn't why people die, right? In fact, most of the time, people call themselves socialists or communists, and it's actually capitalism that winds up being the reason that they get rid of a bunch of people, because it's about money, right? Anyways, China's way ahead of us. These tariffs don't make any fucking sense. And that's why people are nervous, is because best case scenario, we've got stuff being made here, and we don't really, and we had to wait for it for 4 or 5 years, and it didn't benefit us. That's why we want to talk. That's why we want Trump to come out and make sense of this. That's why we're getting tired of like 2 different MAGA people every time that are in the administration with 2 different answers of what Trump's doing. Nobody knows what he's doing. But China is so far ahead of him on this. We are getting absolutely dusted by China right now. Politically, technologically, and maybe militarily soon. It's just China understands what the rest of the world wants, and we don't. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans think that the rest of the world likes the United States being the world power. They don't. They're fucking sick of it. And so this we're going to do more might. We're going to come in and we're going to flex our muscles even harder. People don't want that. So why not just do the peaceful thing? Why not just negotiate global trade? Why proliferate violence? It is the dumbest foreign policy. It is the dumbest economic policy. And it's so frustrating that the only reason you guys are defending it is because you love Trump. There's no economist on your side of the aisle that agrees with this. We got Elon Musk even here saying Peter Navarro is truly immoral, and what he says here is demonstrably false. These two are in a fight. Peter Navarro basically said that Tesla is not made in America, so it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt Elon more. And Tesla, for whatever you want to say about Tesla, compared to other auto manufacturers, they do have a bigger percentage of their process that happens in America. Elon called him the R slur, tagged Elon's own account of I find R slurs, calling him Peter R slur. By a new definition, Tesla is the most vertically integrated auto manufacturer in America with the highest percentage of U.S. content. You have 2 of Trump's most trusted advisors that both can't figure out what Trump is doing. They're in the room with him. They're arguing about tariffs. Elon's out here saying, no, this tariff thing doesn't make a lot of sense. Navarro's like, no, it makes sense. You should check out my friend Ron Vara. He'll tell you. My real problem with all this is I'm not an expert on this. I'm not an economist. but I don't have an argument from your side. You guys don't have one. Your only argument is trust Trump, and I don't get why you're cool with that. That is the most, like, for people who show up every day and call me a fucking beta, you guys sure are pretty goddamn beta when it comes to Trump. Trust him, man. That's what you do. You just got to trust him. Have faith in him. Pass on the faith in Trump. Here's some details I missed when we were talking about Ron Vara yesterday. I'm assuming that that Rachel Maddow was probably the first person who broke this story. Should have cited her before. I wasn't citing her work yesterday, but there were some details in Peter Navarro positioning himself as the expert and pushing these economic policies that I didn't know. One of the things I didn't realize is that Peter Navarro's proximity to Trump happened in the dumbest possible way. And this just goes to show how little Trump vets people. If you say things he likes, he'll just trust you. And I think maybe that's why you guys like him, because you operate the same way. If he says things that I like, I trust him.
Do you remember where Trump got the tariff thing from in the first place? Do you remember like when and why and how we started talking about tariffs in the first place? It was in his first campaign for president. Trump didn't really have any formal economic advisors. So he told his son...
McGruff, I don't want you to be against him 100% of the time. I want you to do it once. I just want you to do it when it makes sense. I'm not against Trump 100% of the time. I wasn't even against all of his tariffs. His first go around, I didn't really have a problem with most of his tariff strategies. I'm not against Trump 100% of the time either. But could you guys be against him when it makes sense to? There's an olive branch.
...law, Jared, to find him an economic advisor. Trump reportedly gave Jared some vague ideas of what his thoughts were on economic issues. You know, something, make me look tough, China bad, something. Jared then decided to find his father-in-law a financial advisor for his presidential campaign by going on the Amazon.com website and starting to browse books. Not like reading the books, because you can't do that on the Amazon website. He was just looking at the covers, looking at the titles.
Thanks, Nicholas. Thanks, Jennifer. Just a reminder, we got about 30 minutes left. If we can knock out that goal, terrific. But let's watch Rachel. And let's watch the MAGAs in the chat freak the fuck out and disregard all of this because MSNBC and Rachel Maddow.
And he found a book title that he thought was so cool. The title was Death by China. Oh, my God, that's so cool. That's so awesome. And that apparently was it. Quote from Vanity Fair. Trump gave Jared a summary of his views and then asked him to do some research. Kushner simply went on Amazon, where he was struck by the title of one book, Death by China, co-authored by a man named Peter Navarro. Jared then cold called Navarro, a well-known trade deficit hawk who agreed to join the team as an economic advisor. Navarro was a major advocate for an aggressive pro-tariff policy. Where did Peter Navarro get his idea that tariffs would be a good policy for America?
Did you see how I called it? Did you see all this? Did you see how I called it? Watch, MAGA won't address any of this. They're going to say MSNBC, Rachel. See how predictable you guys? That's crazy. Did I not nail that? Oh, God, did I fucking nail that? Watch, guys. MAGA's just going to talk about MSNBC and Rachel Maddow. And here they go. Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, fake news. You guys you're programmed, dude. Like, you're NPCs. You're the most predictable humans on earth. Just listen to what she says. You guys never like anything Trump says, and then immediately dismiss Rachel Maddow. This story's true. This all happened. She's getting this information from Jared Kushner. This information, she's just reporting what Jared Kushner said, and you're discrediting it because she said it.
What was his backup for that conviction? Well, he did have backup from a real expert, who he cited in at least a half dozen of his books, including the one that Jared found on Amazon that fateful day. In all of his books, Peter Navarro has cited an economics expert to justify his views. And the economics expert he cites is somebody named Ron Vera, V-A-R-A, Ron Vera. When Trump won the presidency and entered the White House, this Ron Vera started circulating a memo around Washington in support of Trump using tariffs in trade policy. According to the New York Times, the memo had been, quote, sent from an email address purportedly belonging to Ron Vera. At one point, Ron Vera wrote in the memo that Trump could, quote, ride the tariffs to victory. The Problem is, Ron Vera doesn't exist. He never has. The economics expert that Peter Navarro has long cited to explain why he's so gung-ho on tariffs, this person, Ron Vera, is a made-up person.
So Republicans, I know you're not listening to this, but just for a second, stop. You can stop freaking about Rachel Maddow. Can you explain to me then, if you don't want to listen to her, can you just please explain to me why your economic expert, when it comes to tariffs, made up an expert that is just him? Why do you do that? And why don't you? And do you care? Does it bother you? Does it bother you that the guy on tariff, the only guy that is actually really defending Trump's program, that's that claims to be an economist, made up a source, and that source is him, and he cites that guy. He doesn't cite data. He cites his opinion. He says Ron Vara is an expert, and Ron Vara thinks this. Therefore, I agree with Ron Vara. But he's Ron Vara, and he's not citing any of his work. So when asked, like, where are you getting these opinions? He says, this imaginary guy. This is why we have to talk about Trump every day. This has never happened. None of this shit happens with other people. Every politician lies. Every politician is flawed, but nobody lies and is a fucking moron. Like, this is crazy. His economic expert cites himself and not data for the argument, and you guys are like, yeah, I still believe it. I still believe it. I have deeply held belief.
He is a fictional person. Peter Navarro invented Ron Vera as his expert source so he could quote this expert source over and over and over again in his crackpot books. Who is Ron Vera? Ron Vera is an anagram of Navarro, which is his last name. I mean, my name anagrams to Macho Waddler, but I don't see myself trying to talk you into doing what Macho Waddler wants, right?
Honestly, it's a better name. Let's find Republicans. If we start calling Rachel Maddow Macho Waddler, will you guys watch some of her clips? I like that one.
But that really is how the Trump administration crafted its tariff policy. That's where Trump came up with the tariff idea. Circulating a fake memo from a fake person with a fake email address in order to make it look like this was a serious issue being debated by real experts. That is the intellectual basis on which Donald Trump today wiped $6 trillion of wealth out of existence and crashed America's markets and brought America and the world to the brink of a self-inflicted, on-purpose, global Great Depression along the lines of what we had in 2008 and what the pandemic inflicted upon us in 2020. This time, the global disaster is Donald Trump's big brain.
You guys should have won you're just mad you lost. Yes. I'd like to go on the record of saying I'm very upset that we lost. I also want to go on the record of saying I'm bitter. I also would like to go on the record of saying I don't think Kamala Harris would have been made significant big changes. But she wouldn't have done this. She would not have cited an expert who cited themselves as an expert. By the way, this guy just got out of jail. Like, he's an actual criminal. He's not an economist. He is a criminal. He does write books where he cites himself as the expert. And that's who you have. And that's what this administration is. The devastating part about losing is not that we lost. Like, if we lost and this was the first Trump administration, none of this would have happened. You know how I know that? Because none of this happened. None of this happened the first time around. My problem is that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with sycophants. People who just say, yes, you're amazing, you're wonderful to everything he says. Nobody's allowed to disagree with him, including you guys. And you know that. If any of you disagreed with him in this chat, your friends that are here would turn on you immediately. That's not good. That's not a good sign. You have all, whether publicly or privately or just internally, have pledged your loyalty to him. So when we bring in guys like Ron Vara, who have no economic expertise, and they're pulling the strings, making decisions, I've got a problem with it. When you bring in a guy like RFK, who has no expertise in what he's doing, and goes against the scientific consensus, I have a problem. You folks have just decided that no matter what Trump does, it's correct. And so you go along with dumb shit like this. And that's why we have to cover it every day. And we, frankly, if you guys held Trump to any sort of standard, if you pushed back when he did things that are wrong, we wouldn't have this problem. The problem that we have is you just let him do what he wants. You never push back. And so there's now just this echo chamber, and an echo chamber for anybody who just sits around and is only surrounded by people who aren't critical of them. You're not going to get a great message there. And you can call it, we don't have an echo chamber here. Look, you guys are welcome every day. We don't block you. And we beg you to come up here and have it not be an echo chamber, and none of you will. You just sit down there and you let this dummy do whatever the fuck he wants. That's why we have to talk about it all the time. And we have to pluck you guys off one by one. And it works, by the way. It works. Go check out TikTok. I don't know how many of you guys are on TikTok, but go look at the civil war happening between MAGA on TikTok. How the fuck do you think that happened? How do you think it happened that they're split? Because of people like us. Because they had conversations with people like us. And when you see Republicans, 7 Republicans yesterday voting to strip Donald Trump's power, how do you think that happened? Us. You're not getting people. You're not gaining people. You took some people off. When Trump was able to campaign and not have a record to campaign on, and not have to have people see like, oh, this is what his policy actually did. Sure, you guys voted for him. But now that it's actually happening, people are like, uh-oh, we got to get out of here. And that's why you lost the special election in Wisconsin so badly. That's how that swing happens. I don't care about the politics thing. I don't care about the both sidesism. I would love to have a conversation with any of you. That's all I really want to do. I want you guys and our side to sit down and have conversations about what works and what doesn't work. I don't want to talk about Trump every day. I hate talking about Trump every day. I hate that we even have to talk about him. But the reality is, he's the one making all the decisions. He's the only person that you guys listen to. So we have to only talk about him, because any other Republican who says different than him, you don't listen to him. You're like, oh, that's a rhino. So we have to talk about Trump. It's what we have to do. You guys have the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. So sorry, you're gonna have to hear about this for a while, because all decisions, everything that's happening right now is your side of the aisle. We have no control. We can't control any of this. So I'm sorry. You can keep talking about Joe Biden if you want, but we're going to talk about the now, and it's Trump. And it would be cool if one of you would have a conversation. Here's Trump now. Now Trump's just guilting you. And this worked out. He goes, the United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. What is that? He's not telling you. He's not telling you what should have been done. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panikin, a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient. Greatness will be the result. That is some straight up cult shit. That is straight up cult shit. We have a mission. It should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Stand with us. What's the plan? We're not going to tell you. Okay. You have to stay with us. Could you tell us what you're doing? No. Okay. Don't worry. We're still going to be here. We're not going anywhere, sir. Thanks for not telling us. It would probably just make us too nervous anyways. So we'll just blindly defend you every single day. Here's BlackRock CEO, and before you say, "Oh, you guys are quoting the BlackRock CEO," Trump just pressured the Panama Canal to give them access. BlackRock loves Donald Trump, and Donald Trump loves BlackRock. He makes them a lot of money. So before you say, "Oh, there's the deep state," he's in bed with the deep state. So even the people he's in bed with that have given him millions of dollars, who just convinced him to get them the ports at the Panama Canal. Here's what they're saying about his economics. By the way, You think BlackRock has made all this money in investing because they don't understand economics? You know who's never made money investing in the stock market? Who's never had a good handle on it? Donald Trump. He's horrible at it. Donald Trump is the last guy. Like, every time there's a recession looming, Donald Trump would lose all his money. He was always late. You'd have all these economists like, here comes a recession, and the smart people would sell off their assets, and Trump would be like, no way, a recession's not coming. I'm going to double down. When he bankrupted the Atlantic City casinos, basically everybody was like, this is a bad idea, man. We have a recession incoming. And people aren't like Vegas gets hurt when you have a recession, and he's like, "I'm going to take everybody from Vegas." No, you're not, bro. You built an expensive ass casino at the exact wrong time. The reason it was the most expensive casino ever built is because we were just about to go into a recession, and Trump didn't see it coming. These guys are good at it. They see shit coming. They don't have to be bailed out by Russian banks. They don't have to be bailed out by their dad. They don't have to be bailed out by a reality TV show. These guys don't enter office. Trump entered office this time with $1.8 billion in debt. Did you know that? Did you know that Donald Trump owes $1.8 billion and none of that to American banks? All of it to foreign investors? Did you know that? I'm sure you all knew that. I'm sure he campaigned on that, right? Here's Larry Fink.
One of those narratives is from President Trump himself. He says that the tariffs he rolled out last Wednesday in the Rose Garden will create an economic renaissance and make America wealthy like never before. And then the other narrative is the public market narrative. That's the one that's telling us something altogether different, that the tariffs are an economic train wreck in the making. And if anything, they'll make not only the US, but perhaps other countries a lot poorer. Which of those narratives?
How much debt does Biden owe to foreign countries? $0. You know how we know that? Because we know what his finances are. We've seen them. They were subpoenaed, and he didn't owe a single dime to a foreign country. But Trump owns 1.8 billion. So yeah, go ahead and play whataboutism. Just if Biden owned if Biden owed $48 to Ukraine, you guys would impeach him and probably like try and hang him. Get the gallows. You don't care about this shit. Stop pretending you care. You don't. There is not a single thing you can accuse Biden of doing that Donald Trump himself is not accused of. And then times that by 50. You want to talk about their son using peddling influence to get money? Holy shit. Jared Kushner, Don Jr., Eric, the amount of money that they've got by using the Trump brand and the Trump name and the access to Donald Trump, the president, it dwarfs anything Hunter Biden ever did. But it's just, again, you don't care about this stuff. You're just programmed to repeat shit when information hits you that you don't like. And again, I hate to say this. This is one of those places I'm an expert. I grew up in a cult. I left a cult. I went through years of therapy to understand conditioning of cults. I'm the last person in the world that you could get into another cult. This is cult mentality. If I can predict your response every fucking time, it should tell you that your responses are programmed. I can predict it every time. And the sad part is like this happens in politics. We're all programmed with certain things. But when you get to the people who are in the know, who do it every day, they have explanations that the general public doesn't. You guys don't have that. You sound exactly like Trump. That should concern you. It should concern you that you and Trump say the same things. Especially because the things that you say don't explain the problem. It should concern you that nobody on your side has an answer for this. And people that are supposed to be on your side, like Larry Fink here, are like, no, this isn't working.
Narratives is right.
It's probably something in between, but as a market participant, I'm more in the market narrative. So let's be clear. In the United States right now, 8% of workers are in manufacturing. 8%. 8. So how much more should it be? 16%? I don't know, but it's not. I don't think. I looked up what the new entry level of automotive worker is today. It's about $25 an hour, $25 to $28 an hour. That's not a great job versus today. And Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, talked about this last Monday, stating that we're going to have a shortage as large as 500,000 electricians in this country. Electricians today are paid over $150,000 a year, especially if the advanced electricians are doing AI and all that. So there are many ways where we could create great jobs instead of this whole reordering. And so I believe the markets. I've always believed in the markets, and I believe the markets are telling you the real story. And the markets are telling that story right now. Could the story be?
How predictable was it that while he's explaining something economics, that all of the MAGA tune out and they start talking about trans people? and COVID. How predictable is that? We're talking about economics, guys. Try and keep up. By the way, you guys have piercings all over your face, purple hair, and masks. I'm a lib. I have 0 piercings. There's no mask on my face, and my hair's not purple. Even confronted with something that is like you're saying things that aren't even happening, that aren't even real. Can you please pay attention for a second? Goddamn, being a teacher for you guys in school must have been a fucking nightmare. You're talking about trans people again? We're trying to talk about economics here, please.
A little too negative now? Maybe. Could it be not negative? Not maybe too. I'm not here to suggest we're over this pathway. We'll have to see how this plays out. And so we're going to have to see how this plays out. But let me step back and respond to another statement you said. Let me just reiterate, 75% of the global capital market is rested here in the United States. I would say that means the United States is fabulously successful when you have that. That being said, and I wrote this in my CEO letter that came out a week ago today, the biggest issue we have in capitalism, the biggest difference that we have today is we have not seen a broadening of the economy.
All right. So that's Larry Fink. The true problem in this country for you and I, apolitical, this isn't political speech. The problem that we have in this country is that there are too many people who have jobs that can't afford to live. And because there's too many people that have jobs that can't afford to live, then that means that the people that don't have jobs also can't afford to live. And that means that people who can't work or have retired are suddenly going to be faced with a real problem. And the real problem here is that they're not going to be able to survive on the money that they have. And the solution to that by Donald Trump, and I want to be lay this out. Somebody explain this to me. If our prices go up, let's say it's for 2 years. Let's just say Donald Trump pulls off a miracle and that all these manufacturing jobs come back in 2 years. And we have manufacturing plants and the tariffs work and it brings back manufacturing. For those 2 years, the cost of goods and the cost of living will be too expensive for a lot of people to live. And some of those people, a percentage of those people, have access to credit lines, and they will use those credit lines until they can't. And maybe some of them will be able to get through 2 years. Some of them will not. Some people that don't have access to a credit line at all, maybe they have bad credit, they have no option. Their option is to become homeless. And even if that all happens, even if somehow we make it through those 2 years, people are going to struggle, people are going to go homeless. At the end of those 2 years, let's say the manufacturing jobs are back, and let's say they double American manufacturing. That's 8% more of the workforce that's in manufacturing. But those jobs are not great paying jobs. They're okay paying jobs. And the people that are going to get those jobs largely are going to be in debt, and they won't be able to pay off that debt. How does this work? Just fiscally, how does this work? How do we recover from that with manufacturing jobs? How? These are the questions that you guys can't answer. And the reason you can't answer is because the answer is they don't. The answer is it doesn't work. There is no math that makes this work. If you want to bring back American manufacturing, you have to incentivize other countries to do it, and you have to keep our economy strong enough that we can take the time to build up American manufacturing. We did this. We passed a bipartisan bill to bring back American manufacturing, the Chips and Science Act, and it brought back American manufacturing. And it's happening slowly, and that's okay. In fact, it's preferable. We need to roll this out. It needs to be a staged rollout. We've already done this. Left and right came together to bring back American manufacturing, and Trump came in on day one and is like, fuck all of you motherfuckers who agreed to this. I'm going to take credit for the manufacturing jobs that have already come back. He quotes investments from Apple and from Micron, investments that they had already committed to make. And they're like, yeah, we're going to. And then he's like, oh, these are new commitments that I've already made. These commitments already exist. And all Donald Trump had to do, and he would have had bipartisan support, is expand on the Chips and Science Act. He would have had Republicans and Democrats, and he could have put in some of the stuff that they didn't get through negotiation last time because he has a majority. So they could have reworked the CHIPS and Science Act, and they could have put in pet projects for Donald Trump, pet projects that maybe I wouldn't like, pet projects that you probably would like. And we could have done it through Congress, and it would have passed. But instead, he's crashing the global markets, and because it's the only way he actually knows. This idea that he's a good negotiator is bullshit. The reason Donald Trump has always been as successful as he is at negotiation, wherever you want to place that, is because he operated from a bully pulpit. He operated from a position where he could afford to pay high-priced lawyers 2, 3, 4 years and make it so that you will take less money because it would cost you more to litigate it. And he's overplaying that hand. He thinks we have that hand in America. And we just, frankly, according to all economists, we don't have that hand. So I fully expect these countries to come to Donald Trump and offer to negotiate. But if those terms don't make sense for them, they are not obligated to do it. There is no reason for most of these countries to accept a deal that hurts them, especially China. Especially China. In fact, China is doing exactly the opposite. China's just going to all these countries who just got slapped with tariffs, and they're like, hey, whatever America offers you, just know that we'll give you 5% less. We'll make your tariff 5% less. We'll make your cost 5% less. And they're just going to undersell us at every single point. This is the terrible negotiating. You guys, you have to hope that all these countries just want to do business with us over China. And what we can tell you is that all of these countries right now are looking at China as a more stable trading partner because they don't know what's going to happen in America. They in their mind, they might say, okay, we've got Trump for 4 years. Let's say that it's somebody else and it's 4 years. If you look at the cycle we're on right now, it's 4 years Republican, 4 years Democrat, 4 years Republican, 4 years Democrat. That's the cycle we're on. So if they're going to assume that that's the cycle that we're on, then they go back to 4 years of dealing with people they like dealing with. But they know in another 4 years, we could have another Trump. And that's not, economically, that doesn't make sense for them. They don't want to have trading partners who are this up and down. So it doesn't make sense. Like China is pretty straightforward with them. Even if they hate communists, they'd rather work with China because China is going to give them fair trade. And China is going to be consistent. This is not America first. This is Trump first. And this is ego first. It's not even like we disagree on what we want for the future of America. It's that you think you're getting something you're not getting. And the only chance you have, this is a fucking Hail Mary, the only chance you have is that Trump is so good at negotiating that he convinces all of these countries to take a bad deal for them, and he somehow convinces them that they'll be dealing with him or somebody like him forever. And I think they know better than that. Even Trump even if he were to like stay in office, how many more years does that guy have left to live? So maybe there's part of these countries that are like, all right, well, let's see. Do I trust that once Trump's gone, we'll deal with rational people? And I think that like 60% chance, that 70% chance you're going to deal with somebody rational. Because the history of America says you're going to deal with somebody rational when it comes to trade. But what if you're not? Is that a chance that they're willing to take? I would not be willing to take that risk if I'm Canada. If I was Canada and I had the European Union there and they could fulfill all my needs, I'd just trade with Canada or the European Union because they're consistent. If China can fulfill some of the needs that America has been supplying us with, I'm going to go with China because they're more consistent. Consistency matters. In any relationship that you have in your life, consistency matters. Consistency is why we go to the same restaurants we go to every time. If every time you went to your favorite burger joint, like one time it's unbelievable, the next time like there's somebody's testicle in your hamburger, and then the next time they forgot your bun, and then the next time they gave you a vegan burger, and then the next time it was great again, you wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm going to keep giving it a shot. I'm just going to go and hope that this time it's going to be the good time. You'd stop going to that place. Consistency matters in all aspects of life, including trade. And this lack of consistency is devastating to the United States economy. And that's what we're really looking at. Like we can look at the stock market right now and we can say, and maybe it's cheap. I'll even say that it's a cheap shot at Trump to say like it's been 3 days, 4 days, and he wrecked it. Sure, maybe it's a cheap shot. But going forward, and looking at the plan and the prospects, it requires everybody to bow down to Trump. And you guys think that because you bowed down to Trump, everybody else will do it too. I'm not that confident. If Donald Trump pulls this off, I'll be the first one to say he pulled it off. If he gets all these countries to negotiate bad trade deals for them and it makes America better, I'll eat it. But right now he doesn't tell us. He's not telling us the plan. And I'm listening to the other world leaders, and the world leaders are just like, this guy's fucking crazy. We don't want to do business with him. And we have somebody. We have in China. We have somebody that we're negotiating, a rival negotiator who is light years ahead of us, and who negotiates from a position of consistency and integrity. And I understand it. Like they hammer IP, and I understand like. Historically, China has done some fucked up things, but we've done worse. We steal people's ideas too. We steal people's culture. We steal their products. We steal their land. We steal all. We invade their countries and take their oil. So it's not like all these other countries are like, oh well, America, they've always been great, and this is just their one fuck up. They look at us the same way that they look at China. I know you guys all think China's evil and we're great, but the rest of the world looks at us kind of similarly, and they probably look at us worse because we invade. We invade a hell of a lot worse than more than China. Like China might, you might look at China and say they're a danger to their own people, but as far as like a danger to other countries, we're far more responsible for death all around the world than China is, and that's why I don't have a lot of confidence. Again, please, if I'm missing something, just explain it to me. But it can't just be that. Sorry, that's the one. It can't just be like trust Trump, because I don't, and until he proves that he's trustworthy, I won't. Here was George Stephanopoulos. How much time do we have? A couple more minutes. I'll finish up with a couple clips and then we'll get out of here. Let me update the gift goal. I'll stay like an extra 10 minutes. Where are we at? Boom. Let's see what Jen has. Tanya, thank you. Said great show. Thank you, Jen and Jay. All right. So gift goal. What's left on the gift goal? 147. All right. We probably won't hit it today. But if there are people here, I don't want to see the same people every day knocking out this gift goal. But if there's people here and you can help out, I understand times are tight. I understand people are looking at the future and you may want to save all your money. Trust me, I feel you there. But let me show. Here's George Stephanopoulos with, what's Hassett's first name? Shit. What is his name? Somebody have Trump's or his name. What's Hassett's first? Kevin Hassett. He's a director of the National Economic Council. Here's him with George Stephanopoulos.
Mike Pence said this is the largest peacetime tax hike in U.S. history. Your response?
Well, we just saw that the Senate has agreed to budget rules that the House is negotiating with them now that is going to give the biggest tax cut in history in order to make space for these policies and to not have the runaway deficits that gave us all the inflation in the Biden administration. Then we've got an all-of-the-above approach where we're reducing taxes, reducing spending, reducing regulation.
I don't know why they keep saying we're reducing spending, because we're not. We're increasing spending. We have not reduced spending. I don't know why Republicans are allowed to get on TV and say that. They are reducing taxes. They have not reduced spending. They've increased spending. And Trump just said he wants to increase spending even more with $1 trillion to the military. So I don't know why they keep saying that.
And imposing a baseline tariff around the world and hitting the harder actors, the tougher actors harder. That's what President Trump campaigned on. It's a sound policy. It's why people voted him into office, and it's what we're doing right now. We're delivering out the promises.
But a tariff is a tax increase, isn't it?
A tariff is a form of tax. It's a way that you collect revenue when you import products. Yes.
Okay, so it's a tax. So there you go. This is Trump. This is the Trump team. This is Kevin Hassett. This is a Trump guy. He's telling you Republicans, you're getting a tax increase, but it's only on mostly like the middle class, right? You're the ones that are going to get hit with it worse. Tax increase. Just be clear on this. Tax increase. They just said it. This is the Trump administration. Write it down. Take a picture of it. Put it on your motherfucking fridge and stop saying. And when you go debate somebody and they say Trump's increasing taxes, don't argue it anymore. They're saying yes, tax increase.
Consumers pay that tax, correct?
No, because it depends on supply and demand. Elasticity of supply and demand.
Love you too.
And again, if you thought consumers are going to pay that tax, then you should be puzzled about why it is that countries are upset about it.
Well, I'm
asking you.
I'm focused on the consumers right now. You've conceded the prices are going to go up because of the tariffs.
They might go up some, but not nearly as much as you implied in your piece. And the reason is that the supply is inelastic in China. Again, I'll give you the simple example. If you have an apple tree that has 100 apples, and then you're paying $1 an apple, and then there's a 10-cent tax, then if you raise the price to $1.10, people reduce their demand, and so maybe they only demand 90 apples, but then you got 10 apples left. And so what are you supposed to do with the 10 apples that nobody wants? So what happens is the suppliers have to lower the price of apples in order to get back to 100 and 100. And
so we're going to overproduce. Somehow we're going to overproduce now. That's what's going to... Got it.
The question is supply inelastic or not? And I think that by seeing persistent trade deficits year after year after year, then we can say, yeah, supply is very inelastic.
So you're saying consumers are either going to have to buy less or pay more, but the tariff is a tax, as you just conceded.
No, what happens is that...
Don't worry, consumers. It's fine. You have two options. It's this administration, we're going to give you options because this is America and it's about freedom. Here's what you can do with your groceries. Two options, and they're both great options because Donald Trump is such a freedom-loving fuck. You can buy less or you can pay more. How good are those options? How good is that? Make America great again. Buy less or pay more. It's great.
That the supplier cuts his price so that the price is still $1, by example.
Cool gig. That's your administration. You got mad at me for playing MSDNC, so now I'm giving you your people. Kathy says, more love. You two are fucking amazing. Thank you very much. Alyssa, thank you also. I about knocked that damn thing out. Did I have... let me see if I had one more that I wanted to cover. I can't remember. Look over here real quick. Yeah, I just want to do this. And I just want to remind you that... I don't know if it's a reminder. I think what's hard to take as a Democrat is that I'm not like in love with America. I'm not like in love with the Constitution. I don't think it's infallible, but it is what we have. It is our law. And a nation is only as good as its laws and its adherence to its laws and its structure and its Constitution. And the Constitution doesn't mean a goddamn thing if we're not going to use the Constitution as it was intended. So what we have now is we have the president who was elected by the people, but also the people in Congress were elected by the people. And the people in Congress are elected to do their job, and the president is elected to do his job. And so Mike Johnson is being questioned fairly in saying, hey, this president is doing your guys' job for you. And not only is he just he's doing it by executive order. He's bypassing Congress to do whatever the fuck he wants. And you're a member of Congress. And as a member of Congress, we expect them to do what they're supposed to do. And if Congress decides that they're going to let the president do whatever they want, then the checks and balances are done. If the Supreme Court decides that they're going to let the president do whatever he wants, then the checks and balances are done. If the president decides he's going to let Congress do whatever the fuck they want and not use his veto, then the checks and balances are gone. The reason that certain things are assigned to certain branches is because of checks and balances and because of representation. This idea that everybody who voted for Donald Trump voted for him to engage in a trade war is silly. You can't make that claim because he didn't tell us he was going to do this. I know that a lot of you say you're cool with it, and that's fine. But a lot of people, including Republicans, we played Dave Portnoy yesterday. I have Republican friends who are losing their businesses right now. My most MAGA Republican friend, who I have not talked to in 3 years, he blocked every person in his social media that was not MAGA. And we haven't talked. It's not that we hate each other. We just haven't seen each other for a while. I saw him. He works, another person that works in the golf industry. It's a different company. They rely entirely on importing textiles, cheap goods from China, cheaper goods, not manufacturing like cars or microchips or computers. We're talking about things like towels, like Velcro, like plastic, things that nobody's talking about bringing back to America, jobs that are not coming to America. Those are not the jobs we're trying to reshore. So even though we're not reshoring those jobs, Americans are going to have to pay tariffs on those goods. That negotiation doesn't make any sense. If you're going to punish people for goods that you don't plan on bringing back to America, then you're just hurting Americans for no reason. Those are the people that are leaving in droves. Those are the people who feel duped. I can tell you right now that I don't know. I haven't asked him about his support for Trump, but I can tell you this. I can tell you that he didn't vote for this. There's a MAGA flag, MAGA hat wearing, MAGA head covers, MAGA shoes, MAGA socks, MAGA fucking everything. And he was deep, deep MAGA, and he didn't vote for this. He didn't vote to have his business take a 35% tariff. And by the way, in his business, because of patent law, people always try and steal their ideas. I'm not going to tell you the business, but if you're a golfer, you know what business this is. You've seen their product multiple times, and you'll know that their product is being ripped off by everybody else. We're also getting rid of regulation. We're also getting away the people that go after patent infringement. So now, not only as a smallish company who everybody that has such a good idea that Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, places that make rangefinders, places that make towels, everybody's trying to rip off their idea. And Trump is deregulating. So now everybody's going to be able to rip off his idea, and they can operate at razor-thin margins. These massive companies already operate at 2, 3, 4, 5% margins. He has to operate at like 20 or 30% margins just so he can keep employees. They can operate paper-thin margins. He can't. So he's probably going to lose his company or hope that somebody buys out his company because of these tariffs. I promise you didn't vote for this because Donald Trump didn't say any of this. And so when they ask Mike Johnson, hey, Mike, are you guys going to do your job? Watch Mike Johnson just take his position in the cuck chair.
Mr. Speaker.
Thanks, Ryan.
Not sure yet. But, Mr. Speaker, there's a push by some of your members to give Congress a say. John Bacon has a bill to give Congress a say and review the tariffs. Why not give Congress the opportunity to have it be a check on the president?
Congress will weigh in on it, but with the president, with the administration in tandem, and I think you got to give the president the latitude, the runway to do what it is he was elected to do, and that is get this economy going again and get our trade properly balanced with other countries. So I think most of the American people understand the necessity of that. Listen, we had a 1.2
like 30% of the people agree with Trump's trade war. So when he says, they say this all the time, I think the American people, you don't fucking know. Mike Johnson hears from constituents in Louisiana. He has no clue what the average American wants. This is deeply unpopular.
$1 trillion trade deficit in 2024. I don't think that's fair to our country. I think the American people understand that, and I think they see a president who's engaging and trying to fix that. So we're going to give him the space necessary to do it, and we'll see how it all develops.
Do you think Trump's administration officials should brief members?
So now what he's talking about is Republicans are putting a bill, or Democrats with Republican support, bipartisan support, are putting a bill on the floor to say, we are not we're going to take away the president's authority to just unilaterally do tariffs. And Mike Johnson is saying, I'm not even going to allow the people that you elected to vote on it. So Mike Johnson is stripping away my vote. He's stripping away my rights. He's stripping away my right to be heard. He's stripping away my Republican friends' rights to be heard. He is undoing democracy. He's saying, I won't even allow it. First of all, I don't know why the fuck the speaker gets to decide. I don't know how we fucked that one up. How did we fuck up our country so bad that the speaker is allowed to decide what comes to the floor? But Mike Johnson's like, I don't care how much support this has. I don't care if the country wants it or not. I don't care if we have a majority of the people ready to vote and pass this bill. I'm not going to put it on the floor because Donald Trump. And whatever you want to say, like you can be in here and be cuck-a-doodle-doo all you want, but this isn't democracy. This isn't a representative republic. It's not a democracy. This isn't a representative republic. Means that your representatives are heard and your representatives can pass bills. They are making it so that Congress cannot function. Trump gets to do whatever he wants. None of you get to talk about democracy ever again. None of you who are supporting this get to talk about democracy, representative republic. You just like that your guy's in charge and you like that you're getting your way, even though you can't even explain what your way is. I think that we're going to see loud revolt from Americans. And for all of you who went out and protested last week, I admire you. For all of you who show up every day and fight, who post shit on Facebook, say things loudly in a restaurant, hold up signs, put up a sign at your house, whatever it is that you can do to protest, do it. Because the American people deserve to be heard. And the American people deserve that after 250 years for our Constitution to still stand. Did I get that math right? Yeah, 250 years. Yeah, our Constitution should still stand. Our Constitution should not be thrown in the trash just because a bunch of people put on a red hat and worship Donald Trump. Read a couple comments. We'll get out of here. Nomadic Introvert said, thank you for your show. Keep educating. Thank you very much. Nicholas, I don't know if I got that one or if I said it, but thank you for the donation. Cindy said, I don't think there was a, just said thanks for all the hard work and information. Keep it up. Love you guys. Rye, I got that one. Thank you. Lorraine said, love you both, ? That was a good question mark, Lorraine, because Jen hates it when people tell her that she loves her. All right, I'll be back tomorrow morning and every morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on either Twitch or YouTube or Twitter, wherever you're watching it, Facebook. Tonight, I'll be with Admir, I think, as far as I know. We'll be debating on TikTok, and we'll live stream that over here, too. It's just the quality is a little iffy sometimes. So if you have TikTok, you may want to watch it on TikTok rather than here, because sometimes the mic gets all fucked up, and sometimes it just crashes out. We got to get Admir some new internet. But we'll be there for 3 or 4 hours debating Republicans. If you're a Republican here today and you have TikTok, follow me on TikTok. You can come up. We'll have a discussion tonight. Other than that, follow us on all our social medias. If you can like and make a comment on a video, that helps a great deal. And mostly, take care of yourselves. I know that this is, for a lot of people, this is a high-stress time. And take walks, take mental health breaks. Know that there's people here fighting with you, and don't quit. Now's one of those times we have to continue to fight. And we have to continue to make our voices heard. And hopefully this president knows what the fuck he's doing. Hopefully we're all wrong and this works out. But if it doesn't, we're here for you. We'll fight. I'll see all you guys tomorrow. Stay cute and cool and have a great summer.